subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Synopsis. There was one person who wore white robes and fought a bloody battle on the battlefield. There was another who had used his sword to break through the heavens, and there was another who had used his sword to block 10,000 divisions, destroying the mountains and seas. Wu Gengji. Yi Hongchen discovered that he wasn't the main character. This was intolerable. However, when she saw Xin Yuekui walk over, she immediately became satisfied. He was heaven, the lord of the gods. Alan and the Underworld Clan were dancing with the wind, to the extent that it was white. No, Bai Cai would leave it to Wu Geng. In any case, he alone would not be able to stir up any trouble. Chapter 0001. There is something wrong with the plot. The Yuntian continent has 5 continents, the southeast, the northwest, and the middle, among which the east continent. One of the 4 major forces in Dongzhou, Juechen Palace Mountain. Yi Hongchen wore white clothes, and his white shoulders also showed a few red fringes, which showed Yi Hongchen's identity as the core disciple of Juechen Palace. On the opposite side of Yi Hongchen, there was a young man who was also wearing a costume like Yi Hongchen. It could be seen that he is also a core disciple of Juechen Palace, but he is looking at Yi Hongchen with a look that is not poor. Yi Hongchen, don't you just have a good life experience? If you don't have this status, what are you in the palace of Juechen? Yi Hongchen expressionlessly said, "Oh, what then? You say it again. Okay, just say, I'm afraid you won't succeed. Don't you have a good father and a good life experience? If you're a grassroots, I guess you can't reach my level now, right?" Hearing this, the young man repeated it again, very unconvinced. Of course, after all, there was still a fire of jealousy hidden in his eyes. Yi Hongchen's expressionless face suddenly smiled. "Very well, that's it. What I like most is that others say that to me." When a youth heard this, he was dumbfounded. After a while, he came back to his senses, angered into anger, no longer caring about the others, and rushed towards Yi Hongchen. As a result, before he touched Yi Hongchen, he only felt that his body suddenly floated up. The next moment, the whole person could not move, and his hands and feet were all held tightly. "Take it lightly, just a lesson, don't hurt your life," Yi Hongchen said faintly. "Yes, son." A big man grabbed the young man's hands with one hand and the young man's feet with the other, raised it above his head, and walked into the distance. After a while, there were screams in the distance. Yi Hongchen turned a deaf ear and left with his hand. After Yi Hongchen entered the boundary of his home, walking on the road, the indifferent expression on his face had disappeared, his eyes were not squinted, and his expression was calm. It looks as stable as an old dog, but in fact, a group of dumbfounded. There is something wrong with this plot. Is it possible that the way of crossing is incorrect? Yi Hongchen muttered to himself. As a traveler, the plot is not what he knows, because he is not the target of being divorced, and he has no inferior life experience. On the contrary, he has a prominent life experience. Yi Hongchen, the chief disciple of Juechen Palace, is the only heir of Palace Lord Yi Tianjue. Moreover, talent is not so wasteful. On the contrary, an incomparable genius, only 16 years old, has actually cultivated to the peak of the late innate. That is Tiangang realm. It is also one of the 4 great arrogances of Dongzhou, the earthly sun. In the Yuntian continent, Wu is respected, and its cultivation system is from low to high: acquired stage, congenital stage, golden elixir stage, primordial infant stage, conjugation stage, distraction stage, and Mahayana stage. Among them, the acquired stage is divided into physical training state, blood training state, and key training state. Congenital period, air gang state, earth gang state, heaven gang state. Golden core stage, formation core stage, holding core stage, yuan core stage, yuanying stage, condensing the infant stage, practicing the infant stage, and dividing the infant stage. Yi Hongchen didn't know the realm behind him. After all, his cheap father Yi Tianjue was only a training stage in the middle stage of yuaning. My son, your subordinates have found the whereabouts of the things you ordered. At this time, the big man just followed up again. By Linglingwa, just south of Wolangyuan. Yi Hongchen nodded in satisfaction. Yes, the efficiency is quite high. Ding! The clock-in system has been turned on. Asked the host whether to clock in. Yi Hongchen had just finished speaking when an electronic sound that only he could hear came, making him stop. Oh, you go back first. Chapter 0002. Golden Finger appears. Ahu, you go back first. Seeing Yi Hongchen stopped suddenly, Ahu was puzzled, but still bowed slightly. Yes, son. In Juechen Palace, people who can call Yi Hongchen the son, not the young palace master, are only those who belong to the palace master's line. After seeing Ahu walking away, Yi Hongchen moved, and his whole body flew away lightly like a swallow. After a while, he came to a mountain named Hongchen Mountain, which was the peak of his Yi Hongchen alone. Without his permission, no one could enter. The two disciples standing at the entrance of the mountain, after seeing the oncoming Yi Hongchen, immediately saluted. I have seen the young palace master. Yi Hongchen smiled slightly, nodded, and stepped into the mountain peak. The young palace master is a really good person with a high talent, and he has no arrogance. He is handsome. Hey, you don't think about it so much. Just concentrate on doing our business. Hearing the sound coming from behind, Yi Hongchen shook his head slightly. Since he came here, he didn't know how many times he had heard such words. When he came to a river, Yi Hongchen closed his eyes slightly, and his consciousness sank into the sea of knowledge. Knowing the sea, everyone has a martial artist, but you can't go in by yourself if you haven't reached the innate stage. Yi Hongchen's knowledge of the sea is just like a small stream. Not big, but this level of knowledge of the sea is not common even in the congenital period. As soon as he entered the sea of consciousness, Yi Hongchen saw a ball of light, and his consciousness approached slightly. Ding! The clock-in system is bound. Asked the host whether to clock in. Sure enough, as soon as he approached the light ball, the previous electronic sound rang again. Yi Hongchen suppressed the horror in his heart and said secretly, "It seems that this should be my golden finger, and I don't know how powerful it is." Then he said directly and gently clocked in. Ding! The check-in succeeded. The next check-in time, 1 week later. Ding! Congratulations to the host. Get the meteor tears. Yi Hongchen was stunned when he heard the following sentence. And then there was a burst of ecstasy in his heart. Meteor Tears. Star Change is a very famous novel. Among them, the golden fingers of the protagonist Kinyu are meteor tears. It is the energy gathered after the death of the goddess of life in the legend, which can greatly increase the speed of absorbing the vitality of the heavens and the earth, and also has a strong recovery ability. It seems that this system can only check in so as to get an item gifted by it immediately. Just at this moment, Yi Hongchen understood the nature of this system. Although not as good as the protagonist's golden fingers in other novels, this is his favorite system for Yi Hongchen. After all, it relies too much on the system, even if it grows up in the end, as long as the system leaves the body together. His foundation will surely collapse all at once. After leaving Shihai, Yi Hongchen slowly opened his eyes with anticipation. The meteor tears in the plot did not appear in front of him, not even a stone. Yi Hongchen looked towards the sky and muttered with some uncertainty. Could it be that you have to wait till night to get meteor tears like that, can you? After waiting for another 3 minutes, there was still no change in front of him, and Yi Hongchen immediately left and could only wait to see at night. Yi Hongchen came out of the mountain again and welcomed respectful greetings from a bunch of people. Hello, Brother Yi. Meet the night, brother. See, Brother Yi. This is the greetings from the brothers and sisters of the same palace to him. The cultivation base of nephew Yi has improved again. Okay. You deserve to be a leader in the palace, a genius among geniuses. Chapter 0003. It turned out to be a cannon fodder villain. The Lord of the Night Palace has a successor. It's really a tiger father without a dog. This is to say hello to him from the elders in the same palace. Senior Brother Ye's aura is getting more and more compelling. He obviously looks so gentle. I'm not the only one who feels this way. But the more so, the more I like it. Yeah. Same feeling. What is it? You little kneesy. Brother Yi still looks down on us. Hee. Senior sister, are you shy? How do you know if you don't try it? Okay, here are some younger sisters who are beginning to love each other. Be reserved and steady. Yi Hongchen said to herself in her heart and smiled at the cute little sisters. Ah, no way, senior sister. I'm gonna faint. Back to his own residence. After the Red Dust Palace, a middle-aged woman in a blue gown greeted her. It was the clothes of the elder in the palace, and this middle-aged woman, Yi Hongchen knew, was called the Elder Narcissus. Hongchen, I'm back. Elder Narcissus came to Yi Hongchen and said softly. Yi Hongchen smiled slightly. Elder Narcissus, I don't know, what's the matter with Hongchen? That's the case. Didn't I accept an apprentice 3 months ago? Yesterday, she mentioned a small matter to me. Elder Narcissus said this, and paused for a while, because I was a little bad to come forward, so? Yi Hongchen's smile narrowed slightly when he heard the words. He hates trouble the most, especially when he still has so many dog legs. Yeah, Elder Narcissus said it's okay. If Hongchen can do it, he won't refuse. Although Yi Hongchen's smile has narrowed, it is still bright. When Elder Narcissus saw this, his face was suddenly pleasantly surprised. That's it, my disciple, because she was appointed as a baby kiss when she was a child. She was very unhappy, so she begged you to ask you to help tell the other party's family to divorce. But because you're an elder and it is inconvenient, she came to me, didn't you? Yi Hongchen's smile gradually brightened when he heard the words. It turned out to be such a small thing. Yes, Hongchen really smart. When Elder Narcissus saw that Yi Hongchen had already spoken to her, his face was more joyful. So, Hongchen, can you help me with this? No problem. When will you go? Tomorrow morning. Don't worry, Hongchen. The other party is a family in a small place and won't get you into trouble, so I will leave first. Well, Hongchen will not send Elder Narcissus. Yi Hongchen still smiled, and after watching Elder Narcissus leave, his smile gradually disappeared. As he walked into the room, he thoughtfully said, No wonder what went wrong. It turned out to be here. Prominent life experience, handsome looks, talented, and a dad with a monstrous cultivation base. Isn't this the basic condition of being a stepping stone? Nowadays, even such things as divorce are coming up. Could it? I'm really a villain? No, I have to go and see for myself. I can't make a conclusion yet. Yi Hongchen put away the thoughts in his heart, entered the room, and began to practice silently. Night. Yi Hongchen, who was sitting on the bed, opened his eyes slightly, and a pair of azure blue eyes appeared. At night, it's time to go and see if there are really meteor tears. Yi Hongchen came out of the room and went to Hongchen Peak again. This time it was not by the river, but on the top of the mountain. Looking at the extremely shining stars in the sky, Yi Hongchen's heart also followed. At this time, a star like a meteor fell directly. Chapter 0004. Cousin Yiling Yunkal. At this moment, a blue light suddenly flashed across the sky, falling like a star. Yi Hongchen's eyes suddenly became energetic. Come. Sure enough, the blue light was so fast that it suddenly came to Yi Hongchen's head. No, the place where it fell is exactly where I am. Yi Hongchen's blue eyes shrank suddenly. But now at this distance, even if he dodges with all his strength, he can't dodge it at all. Bang! The blue light immediately hit Yi Hongchen, and Yi Hongchen flew upside down and fell to the ground heavily. The blue light suddenly disappeared when it hit Yi Hongchen, and then a strange blue pattern suddenly appeared on Yi Hongchen's body. Yi Hongchen slowly stood up from the ground, looked at the blue lines on his body, and muttered, Is it over? Slowly rotating the technique, Ju Tianqin Ju, a faint blue light suddenly lit up on Yi Hongchen's body. The heaven and earth spiritual key, floating near the mountain peaks, quickly entered Yi Hongchen's body. In less than 30 seconds, 3 blue vortexes appeared on Yi Hongchen's head. That is the spiritual energy vortex. Even though Yi Hongchen can also cause it on weekdays, it takes 5 minutes. Now, only 30 seconds have passed, and he actually completed the 5 minutes he had previously spent. 10 minutes passed. A full 18 spiritual vortexes appeared on Yi Hongchen's head. You know, every time a vortex appears, it means that the aura has been drawn for 5 circles. And every time there's one more aura vortex, one more is already very difficult, and most people can only cause 5 at most. Call. Yi Hongchen exhaled slightly, opened his eyes, and a blue light was wiped from his eyes. This meteor tear is really a good thing. After only practicing for a while, it actually surpassed my previous success that was close to a day. Yi Hongchen's face showed joy, and he gave a sincere admiration, and then left Hongchen Peak. As soon as he returned to the inner gate of the palace, Yi Hongchen found that the inner gate was extremely active tonight. Normally, at this point, it is rarely possible to see people, and he usually cultivates in the house. Strange, who on earth took away the aura? I can't feel it anymore. That's right. If you let me know who caused the ghost, I will definitely not recognize the grandmother who beat him. I almost went crazy just now. Junior brother, can you form a team? I can help you hold him. Haha, brother is serious. Yi Hongchen came. Listening to their words, a feeling of guilty conscience suddenly rose in his heart. He had already guessed what was going on. It must be because his cultivation level caused too many aura vortexes, causing the inner sex aura to be attracted to the past. Yi Hongchen. At this moment, a voice came into Yi Hongchen's ears, causing Yi Hongchen's heart to be raised involuntarily. There is no way. Now, this feeling is like being a thief. Looking at it, he was an 18-year-old boy. Although his face was not comparable to him, he was also extraordinary. Yi Lingyun, his cousin. Yi Hongchen yawned slightly and said listlessly, "My cousin, what's the matter?" Yi Hongchen, would you dare to have a one-on-one duel with me? Yi Lingyun's eyes were fierce. Half a month ago, he and Mo Ran were both popular candidates for the young palace master in the Palace of Great Dust. As a result, Yi Hongchen suddenly appeared, with one enemy in 2. He forcibly seized the position of young palace master. Chapter 0005. One sword defeats Yi Lingyun. Therefore, from then on, his nominal cousin has devoted himself to cultivation and now wants to challenge him again. Senior brother Lingyun is going to challenge senior brother Hongchen? Could it be that the memory of being defeated by senior brother Hongchen half a month ago with a sword-drawing technique has forgotten? Hush, you're going to die. Talking so loudly in front of senior brother Lingyun. I'm telling the truth anyway, and brother Hongchen will definitely protect me. Brother Hongchen, come on, defeat senior brother Lingyun with one sword. The 2 inner courtyard disciples closest to Yi Hongchen and Yi Lingyun heard the conversation between them and immediately cheered Yi Hongchen. The voices of the 2 women immediately caught the attention of others, and all of them gathered around and pointed at Yi Lingyun. It was all Yi Lingyun's self-seeking humiliation. But Yi Hongchen still smiled indifferently and couldn't help but feel a little fond of his identity as a villain in his heart. At least you don't need to be mocked with a cold face before the fight starts, isn't it? Yi Lingyun heard the words of the surrounding juniors and sisters. Yi Hongchen didn't say anything to stop him and suddenly became a little uncomfortable. Yi Hongchen, since you should not fight, then I will force you to fight. Call. When the words were over, Yi Lingyun immediately drew his sword out of its sheath and pierced Yi Hongchen with a sword. In a later stage of the innate, the cultivation base of the Heavenly Gang realm was undoubtedly obvious, and a red key enveloped his whole person. Yi Hongchen shook his head slightly, and when Yi Lingyun was about to stab him, his toes gently pushed back on the ground, and both hands were opened. The whole person flew back like a wild goose. Amazingly, his physical and martial skills are as light as a swallow. Heavenly top grade cultivation methods, weapons, martial skills, and medicines are all divided into yellow, mysterious, earth, heaven, emperor, and holy rank, and each has 3 ranks: upper, middle, and lower. Yi Lingyun's sword was chasing up, but the speed was not as fast as Yi Hongchen, so he didn't stab Yi Hongchen, keeping just a distance. It's brother Hongchen's own martial arts and martial arts. He is as light as a swallow. It is said that he can fly freely like a swallow and is a top-ranked high-grade one. Unbelievable. Senior brother Hongchen is worthy of being one of the four great arrogances of the world, and the martial arts he created are all heavenly ranks. Of course, otherwise you can't single Yi Lingyun and Mo ran alone. Brother Hongchen, come on, defeat senior brother Lingyun. Upon seeing Yi Hongchen, who was born as light as a swallow, the disciples' onlookers became excited again, especially some female disciples. Are you only hiding? Yi Hongchen, Jining Wushuang. Yi Lingyun was originally annoyed because he couldn't catch up with Yi Hongchen, but now he is even more angry when he hears those people's words. The forward body suddenly stopped, and the sword body moved. A black shadowy sword aura suddenly slashed towards Yi Hongchen. Boom! When the sword aura came, Yi Lingyun tapped his toes lightly on the ground again, and the whole person suddenly flew lightly towards the sky. And that sword key suddenly smashed a large stone, and the stone turned into a pile of gravel. Yi Hongchen, who had just jumped into the sky, touched her waist and smiled faintly. Since you want to lose faster, then I'm not welcome. When Yi Hongchen put his hand on the hilt of the sword at his waist, a burst of sword intent instantly enveloped Yi Lingyun's body. Let Yi Lingyun feel that as long as he dares to move out of the range that Yi Hongchen arranged for him, death will be ushered in. Drawing swordsmanship. Because of the angle at which Yi Hongchen jumped into the sky, the moon seemed to be behind him, looking very immortal. Call. When the words fell, Yi Hongchen turned into a black shadow and disappeared instantly. When he reappeared, he was already behind Yi Lingyun and said softly, "It's over. Chapter 0006. I'm going to help retiring. It's over." Yi Hongchen didn't know when she had already put the sword into the scabbard, turned her back to Yi Lingyun, and smiled confidently. Hiss! As soon as the voice fell, a sword wound suddenly appeared in the white clothes on Yi Lingyun's body, in the area before the white clothes there. But Yi Lingyun felt a soreness coming from her neck. She couldn't help but touch it subconsciously. The blood on her fingers was what caught her eye. Yi Hongchen wiped his neck unexpectedly. If Yi Hongchen wanted to kill him just now, at this moment, he was already a cold corpse. Yi Lingyun didn't doubt the sword made by Yi Hongchen just now. Quick, too fast. So fast that he could not catch Yi Hongchen at all. The people around naturally also saw the sword wound on Yi Lingyun's body, and they suddenly became uproarious again. Ah, one sword. Senior brother Hongchen is just one sword. Yi Lingyun was just like this, and was defeated by senior brother Hongchen with a single sword. This distances two. Senior brother Hongchen, as the worldly son, his strength is not vain. Yi Lingyun slowly turned around. Looking at Yi Hongchen's back, he couldn't help but smile bitterly. I lost, just a sword. No, you lost in speed. Yi Hongchen turned around when he heard the words and smiled at Yi Lingyun. After speaking, he slowly left under the adoring gaze of the inner disciple, leaving Yi Lingyun behind his back. Lost in speed? Yes, speed. Yi Hongchen, I beat you upright in the hall. After Yi Lingyun murmured slightly, he seemed to have touched something, but he couldn't think clearly. Red Palace. After Yi Hongchen returned to his residence, he lay directly on the bed and fell asleep slowly. As for cultivation, he didn't dare to cultivate it this time, because even the elders would come to trouble him. The second day, early in the morning, the elder Narcissus brought a pretty beauty to the outside of the Hongchen Palace. Yi Hongchen had long been up, and was now contacting swordsmanship in the courtyard. After all, he didn't dare to relax after knowing that he might be a villain. You know, those protagonists can just open up if they don't agree with each other. Once you get a setback, you are advancing by leaps and bounds. To say to crush you is to crush you. No kidding, the protagonist's halo is so powerful. When Elder Narcissus saw that Yi Hongchen was almost practicing, he interrupted Yi Hongchen directly. Hongchen, what I said yesterday, I don't know how you prepared. Yi Hongchen handed the épée used to practice swords to Ahu on the side of Hosei at will, and said with a smile, I've been ready a long time ago, and I can leave at any time. That's good, that's good. Yes, these are my direct disciples. Yin Kingsu, Shuer. Don't you want to see Brother Hongchen? Elder Narcissus said, pointing to the beautiful woman behind him. Yun Qingsu walked out from behind Elder Narcissus, looking at Yi Hongchen curiously with a pair of bright eyes. Qingsu has seen your brother Hongchen. Well, no need to be polite. Yi Hongchen nodded slightly, and then said to Ahu, Ahu, go and bring Ihu. I'm going out. Yes. After Ahu responded slightly, he took the ape and left. Yun Qingsu also took advantage of this gap and carefully looked at Yi Hongchen, dressed in white, with a white rapier hung around his waist, his handsome and extraordinary face. His eyes are like stars, and his body has a unique fragrance, which is free from the mundane temperament. In general, Yi Hongchen was in Yun Qingsu's eyes at this moment. It was that perfect, and it was completely incomparable with the person in Luoyang City, like the sky and the earth. Thinking of this, Yun Qingwu's eyes suddenly became firm. This marriage must be retired. Chapter 0007. The protagonist girl is really exciting soon. Ahu went and returned. The heavy sword in his hand had disappeared, replaced by a blood-red rein, connected to a white demon tiger behind him. The monster tiger is white all over. Only the king character on its forehead is red, and it has a pair of white wings on its back. Monster beasts are the most powerful monster beasts in this world, except for the human race. They're divided into 7 levels, 1 to 7, and each level has 3. For example, the first level and second order monsters are the midterm acquired, and so on. And this one that Yi Hongchen called Ihu was a monster of the 3rd rank and the 1st rank. In other words, its realm is like the early stage of the golden core of the human race, in the core formation realm. Hongchen, if this is the case, then I will be waiting for good news in the palace. Upon seeing this, the elder Narcissus said slightly and left the Hongchen palace. After seeing elder Narcissus leaving, Yi Hongchen looked at Yun Qingsu, who was left here alone, and smiled slightly. Let's go, junior sister Yun. This smile, as soft as catkins in the spring breeze, made Yun Qingsu stunned. However, she was shocked that Yi Hongchen was not shocked. When Yun Qingsu was stunned, she held her hand with one hand, feeling the temperature in his hands. Before Yun Qingsu could speak, Yi Hongchen explained, Ihu admits his life and can only temporarily wrong junior sister Yun. It's okay, Yun Qingsu's ears became red when she heard Yi Hongchen's words. Yi Hongchen didn't wait for Yun Qingsu to finish speaking. He moved with his feet and jumped onto Ihu's back with Yun Qingsu, taking the red rein from Ahu's hand in the meantime. Let's go. As soon as he arrived on Ihu's back, Yi Hongchen directly let go of Yun Qingsu's hand and pulled the reins abruptly. Roar! Ihu roared suddenly. The wings on his back waved quickly and flew directly into the sky. Yun Qingsu couldn't stand at all at this speed and subconsciously hugged Yi Hongchen, who was standing in front of her. Brother Hongchen, I didn't mean it, Yun Qingsu was afraid that Yi Hongchen would be disgusted and just wanted to explain. As a result, Yi Hongchen's voice came to her ears lightly. It's okay. In order to reach Luoyang City quickly, so I can only fly at full speed. Junior sister Yun, if you can't bear this speed, you can hold it tight. When the words were over, Ihu's speed was mentioned again, and the sound of the wind coming from Yun Qingsu's ears became even louder, causing her to hug Yi Hongchen tightly. Her ears were already red at some point. Brother Hongchen is worthy of being a Tianjiao, and his heart is so good. Yun Qingsu wandered secretly in her heart. As everyone knows, senior brother Hongchen, who was praised by her, has already raised the corners of her mouth, and an uncontrollable smile appeared on his face. As the pinnacle of the late congenital stage in the heavenly Gang realm, he is completely able to use the Gengji protection to block this gust of wind. As for why he didn't do this, it was because Yi Hongchen deliberately. If he is really a villain, then Yun Qingsu is one of the proper heroines. Well, the girl who is soaking in the protagonist, how could she be inexplicably exciting in her heart? Hold steady, be reserved. Look, that's Brother Hongchen's Ihu. Brother Hongchen is out of the palace again. Yes, every time Brother Hongchen leaves the palace, the outside world seems to be overshadowed. After seeing Ihu flying in the air, the disciples in Juechen Palace started talking, as if Yi Hongchen was the focus. MOU, make arrangements for me. I want Yi Hongchen not to come back. A young man dressed in the costume of the core disciple of the Juechen Palace saw a haze in his eyes when he looked at Ihu, who was gradually leaving the sky. Chapter 0008. To the house of the heroine Mo Ran, the core disciple of Juechen Palace, was one of the two geniuses who were expected to be the lord of the young palace. He is also one of the most powerful direct disciples of the Mo family in the palace, and the grandson of the second elder. There are two major factions in Juechen Palace. One is the Yi family, and the other is the Mo family. The palace owners of each generation are selected from the two families. But young master, Yi Hongchen belongs to the palace master. The Mo behind Mo Ran hesitated. Mo Ran glanced at it directly and asked Mo Ran to swallow the words behind. Don't worry. Something happened. This young master will carry it. Yes. Subordinates are going to prepare. Mou heard the words and could only take his orders, and then retreated and began to prepare. Mo Ran looked at Yi Hongchen, who had disappeared, and his narrow eyes suddenly narrowed into a gap. If I can't beat you, I will kill you in the cradle. At this moment, Yi Hongchen didn't know that a killing field against him had begun quietly. No words all the way. About an hour later, in Yi Hongchen's sight, a small city suddenly appeared, which looked a bit dilapidated. Of course, this is not really small, really shabby, but from the perspective of Yi Hongchen now, it is like this. Okay, junior sister Yin, it's coming soon. Yi Hongchen let Ihu control his speed, then said behind him, although the protagonist's sister is irritating, it can't be too long. Otherwise, it will be counterproductive. Moreover, through the feeling of the journey just now, Yi Hongchen felt one thing. This heroine is still in airport. It made him feel completely gone. Well, next, I will trouble senior brother Hongchen. Yun Kingsu let go of her hand, holding Yi Hongchen a little bit reluctantly, and said softly, it's easy to say, it's a trivial thing anyway. Yi Hongchen smiled slightly and said indifferently, indeed, for the current Yi Hongchen, this is indeed a small thing. Call. Ihu flew directly above Luoyang City and attracted the attention of the soldiers defending the city, but they couldn't fly, so they couldn't stop it either. Quick, a monster has entered the city. Let go. A soldier in the lieutenant's armor just wanted to give orders, and a slap was immediately slapped on his head. Let go, let you go. Let it go. Didn't you see anyone up there? We can't afford this kind of mount, you know. As Ihu entered the city, he flew below the low altitude without any concealment and immediately attracted the attention of Luoyang City. After seeing Ihu heading towards the Yun family, one of the three major families in Luoyang City, one after another guessed what noble person the Yun family had provoked or climbed onto. Some people even eagerly watched the excitement and ran directly to Yun's house. In front of the Yun family, after seeing Ihu and the person with him, the few guardians were shocked, and one person ran in and informed the principal that he had gone. Call. As soon as Ihu came to the ground, a burst of air suddenly rolled up. Standing outside the door, Xiaoya immediately wanted to shout an enemy attack. As a result, a gentle voice came, sorry, my mount is a bit arrogant, don't care. In the voice, there was a convincing feeling in their hearts, which made them stop their desire to shout. Then, a handsome young man with a noble temperament. Even if their Yun family is one of the three big families in this Luoyang city, they can't help but be overshadowed in front of him. Here, this prince, are you here? A seemingly top-notch man came over and asked anxiously, Aoyang, don't you know me? How long has it been since then? Chapter 0009. Little place is a bit boring. Aoyang, don't you know me? How long has it passed? This is... Yin Kingsu also got off Ihu, walked to Yi Hongchen's side, and said slowly. The head was still a little nervous, but when he saw Yun Kingsu dog, he was a little shocked, and his eyes widened. Miss Schwer, haha, I don't know who came in my Yun family. It really made my Yun family flourish. At this moment, a heroic voice came from the door of the Yun family. The next moment, a middle-aged man wearing a blue robe suddenly walked out of it, and walked quickly towards Yi Hongchen and Yun Qingsu. He was indeed the patriarch of the Yun family, Yun Xiaolan, and Yun Qingsu's father. After seeing Yun Xiaolan, Yun Qingsu ran over and shouted excitedly, "Daddy, Shuer is back." When Yun Xiaolan saw Yun Qingsu, she was stunned for a while, but Yun Qingsu directly fell into his arms. "Shuer, it's you? Why did you come back? Didn't you be accepted as a disciple by an expert and went to a large sect to practice?" Yun Xiaolan couldn't help but hugged Yun Qingsu tighter, both happy and doubtful. At this moment, a bunch of people suddenly appeared behind Yun Xiaolan, all of them with iron swords and guns, as if they were about to fight. When he saw the warm scene in front of him, he couldn't help hiding his weapon behind him, making him feel embarrassed. Who just said that there are experts who come, and it seems that those who come are not good? In the next instant, all of them looked at the person who ran in to inform the person before, as if their eyes could kill someone. That person had already been sacked. Seeing this, Yi Hongchen couldn't help but chuckle, and his smile immediately caught the attention of everyone in the Yun family. After all, his sense of existence was too high. He looks very expensive in clothes, and his handsome face is so extravagant that it is hard to ignore. "Shuer, who is this?" After seeing Yi Hongchen, Yun Xiaolan couldn't help but look at Yun Qingsu. After all, looking at Yi Hongchen, he felt inferior to him. Just as Yun Qingsu wanted to answer, Yi Hongchen stepped forward and said with a polite smile, "My name is Yi Hongchen. I'm junior sister Yun's brother." "Ah, Xuan's brother? Yi Gengji, please come in quickly. It's a bit cold outside." When Yun Xiaolan heard Yi Hongchen's words, she immediately greeted Yi Hongchen. He was called Yi Gengji. After all, he was not from Juechen Palace, so he didn't dare to be too close. Yi Hongchen nodded slightly, holding the reins on Yihu's body, and walked into the Yun's house quickly. It's not that he doesn't know how to be polite, but that he should be so. Not to mention the identity, just the cultivation base. Yi Hongchen is higher than Yun Xiaolan. Yun Xiaolan is just a warrior in the early innate period. After accepting Yi Hongchen in, Yun Xiaolan immediately arranged a separate courtyard for Yi Hongchen, and then dragged Yun Qingsu away, making Yi Hongchen want to retire soon to see that the protagonist's abacus was shattered. "NS, forget it. I won't delay this half of the meeting anyway." Yi Hongchen shook his head slightly, and then turned around in the bamboo pavilion in the courtyard and wanted to practice. As a result, before practicing for 3 seconds, Yi Hongchen stopped directly. There was no way. The spiritual energy in this place was too thin, and it was completely incomparable to Juechen Palace. Soon, when Yi Hongchen was sitting in the pavilion in a daze, Yun Qingsu suddenly walked in. "Senior brother Hongchen, we're going to have lunch." Yun Qingsu smiled, as if something good had happened just now. Seeing this, Yi Hongchen slightly withdrew his thoughts. "No, if you're not hungry, junior sister Yun, go and give up the marriage first. Here, nothing can be done, it's so boring." Chapter 0010. Let's talk about breaking your limbs. It's okay. Let's have a meal together, brother Hongchen. Yun Qingsu suddenly hugged Yi Hongchen's arm and pressed it against the fierce fruit that had not been developed for a long time. Yi Hongchen felt the softness and quickly pulled out his hand, his eyes cold. "Who are you? Do you want to die?" When the words were over, a powerful breath suddenly erupted from Yi Hongchen's body, and the girl flew out and fell right into the pool under the bamboo pavilion. As for why Yi Hongchen suddenly reacted like this, it was because the touch there was obviously different. This feeling is clearly not something that an airport can have. It took the woman a long time to get out of the pool. Her beautiful eyes glared at Yi Hongchen. "Awesome. I can tell it so quickly. Get to know, I am my sister's own sister, Yun Qingxue." Yi Hongchen heard the words, shook his head slightly, and returned to the stone stool in the bamboo pavilion, and said lightly, "I don't want to know you." Well, the twin sisters, according to the routine, this native protagonist should be able to enter the harem. Oomph. What a look. Let me see if you have any real skills. Yun Qingxue ran over after seeing Yi Hongchen directly ignoring him. Clouds and mists are scattered. A white light appeared in her hand, and a midterm acquired cultivation base appeared in Yi Hongchen's perception. Yi Hongchen immediately lost Yaxing and greeted Yun Qingshui with a palm in the air at will. Bang! In the next second, Yun Qingshui flew upside down. Although Yi Hongchen didn't use much force, he still smashed heavily on a rockery. Yun Qingshui felt that his whole body was falling apart and wanted to scold Yi Hongchen when he turned over. With Yi Hongchen's palm up, the pool around the bamboo pavilion suddenly burst into bursts of water. Bang! 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 The water column stood upright around the bamboo pavilion, causing Yun Qingshui to swallow secretly. If you say more, I will break your limbs. Yi Hongchen's palm slowly fell and placed it on the stone table. The water column around the bamboo pavilion quickly fell back to his hands like a trick. At first glance, Yun Qingshui lacked discipline. So, in order to avoid being disturbed too much, Yi Hongchen could only make her fear him from the bottom of her heart. Violence is obviously a quick and easy-to-use move. What's the matter, Yi Gengji? Did something happen? At this moment, Yun Xiaolan took Yun Qingsu and the Yun family members with them quickly. They had already waited for Yi Hongchen at the dinner table before, and they even specifically asked Yun Qingshui to call him. As a result, it has been so long since Yun Qingshui came to call Yi Hongchen, and the aura that had just emerged could make Yun Xiaolan's heart palpitations. For fear that Yun Qingshui might provoke Yi Hongchen, he hurried over. Patriarch Yun, your hospitality is a little improper. Yi Hongchen glanced at Yun Qingshui, who was lying on the rockery, his eyes drooping. If it wasn't for junior sister Yun's sake, it was not just a lesson. Listening to Yi Hongchen's words, Yun Xiaolan suddenly heard something bad in her heart when she saw Yun Qingshui's situation. Yun Qingsu gave Yun Qingshui a fierce look and hurried to Yi Hongchen. Brother Hongchen, thank you for being merciful just now. My sister is not sensible, and I hope senior brother Hongchen will not be angry. Yi Hongchen couldn't help rolling his eyes when he heard the words, but he didn't continue to entangle him. After all, he was just a wild girl. Besides, you are the heroine, you have the final say. Then, Yi Hongchen went to dinner with the Yun family and the others, just like an okay person. Chapter 0011. The proper protagonist above the dining table. After only a few bites, Yi Hongchen became dull and tasteless, but still symbolically picked up a few dishes. Yi Gengji, if you are not in a hurry to turn to Luoyang City, you could spend a few more days. Yun Xiaolan suddenly looked at Yi Hongchen and said softly. Yi Hongchen didn't even look at Yun Xiaolan and said indifferently, Sister Yun, go straight to your fiancé, who has retired after dinner. Senior brother is a bit busy, and it is inconvenient to stay for a long time. Yun Xiaolan's meaning, Yi Hongchen understood, just wanted him to stay for a few more days so as to get close to him and get closer to him. After all, as a congenital master, he has a background of a behemoth. Even if he is only close to him, the Yun family benefit a lot. It's a pity that what Yi Hongchen hates most is this trivial matter. If he didn't see the person who was suspected to be the native protagonist, I'm afraid he would have already left. After all, there is no way to cultivate in this place. Apart from cultivation, is there any fun in this world? Woman? Yi Hongchen is like the master who lacks women. Upon seeing this, Yun Xiaolan couldn't help but smiled awkwardly and said nothing more. After a meal, it could be said that almost all the members of the Yun family were dispatched, and all the high-level people walked out of the Yun family and went to the Yi family. Through Yun Qingsu, Yi Hongchen knew that the person she wanted to divorce was Yi Bufan, who is the only heir of the Yi family patriarch, one of the three major families in Luoyang City. He has been very talented since he was a child. At only 10 years old, he has reached the peak of the late-acquired stage, that is, the late stage of blood training. However, that year, Bufon's cultivation base went backwards from the later stage of the acquired cultivation until finally it became the early stage of the physical training stage, that is, the early stage of acquired. Originally, this was nothing. Ding's treatment was mostly lower, but when he was 12 years old, his meridians were suddenly broken, his dantian was destroyed, and his cultivation was completely useless. His father, Yi Jingwen, was eager for his son again and broke into a monster forest outside Luoyang City alone. In the following 4 years, Yi Jingwen completely disappeared from the world, and as the young patriarch, he was not ordinary, and he was immediately bullied by other Yi family disciples who had difficulty breathing under his pressure. It has become the laughing stock of the entire Luoyang city, and it has been named the first waste in Luoyang city. Come on, this proper protagonist is undoubtedly. After Yi Hongchen understood the situation, his heart suddenly became speechless. Brother Yi, the Yi family is here. At this moment, Yun Kingsu's voice came from outside the carriage. Note, the Star Pavilion is recruiting 102-622-2484 because of Yi Hongchen's noble status. The Yun family directly gave him all the carriages used by the patriarch. Yeah, after Yi Hongchen said faintly, he got out of the carriage and walked into the Yi family with the Yun family and others. After Yun Xiaolan asked the elders of the Yi family for a while, they entered the main hall of the Yi family. After a while, Yi Yuheng, the elder of the Yi family, directly sent someone to call Yi Bufan. A thin body, like malnutrition, even looks ordinary, but there is always a stubborn color in his eyes. Elder, what can you do for me? Yi Bufan was very plain after seeing so many people in the main hall. Seems to have guessed what was going on. Yi Yuheng looked at Yun Xiaolan, and after Yun Xiaolan nodded, he said to Yi Bufan with a gentle expression, "It's extraordinary. What about the baby kiss that your father and patriarchy made back then? Do you know?" "I know. My father mentioned it to me." Yi Bufan first glanced at Yun Kingsu, who was sitting next to Yi Hongchen, and said slowly, "Well, today, there's nothing else calling you to come here. It's just a divorce. Patriarch Yun feels that you are no longer qualified to marry your niece Yun." Chapter 0012. Become other's child. Oh, so what? Yi Bufan still had a plain expression without any change. "So, if you have some self-knowledge, you can agree to divorce. After all, you are trash. Can you still want to eat swan meat?" Before Yi Yuheng could speak, Yun Kingsu stood up without concealing her disgusting expression. Although Yun Xiaolan felt wrong in her heart, it was his daughter who was speaking, and she could only suppress it. "It's okay to divorce, but it's not your Yun Kingsu's retreat, but I, Yi Bufan, will retreat to you, Yun Kingsu." Yi Bufan glanced at Yun Kingsu slightly and walked forward 2 steps. He immediately touched his pocket in his hand and took out a piece of white paper. "This is the resignation letter that I wrote a long time ago. You can sign it, but you have to remember that it was me, Yi Bufan, gave you away, Yun Kingsu." Yun Kingsu had just received the blank paper, and her expression suddenly sank when she heard Yi Bufan's words. In the next moment, he slapped Yi Bufan's body directly with a palm. With the help of Yi Bufan, whose cultivation base had been exhausted now, how could it be possible to resist Yun Kingsu's palm, and immediately slammed against the wall? "Kingsu, this is the Yi family. Don't mess around." Yun Xiaolan saw Yi Yuheng's ugly expression and shouted directly to Yun Kingsu. After all, the person who beats the Yi family in the Yi family, even if that person annoys the Yi family, they are also the Yi family. If it is used by someone with a heart, then the Yi family and the Yun family will be completely smashed. Hearing Yun Xiaolan's words, Yi Yuheng and the elders of the Yi family's complexion suddenly eased again. But at this moment, Yi Hongchen smiled faintly and said to Yun Kingsu indifferently, "It's okay, junior sister Yun, just fight. Senior brother Yi will support you." Junior sister Yun, brother Yi. As soon as Yi Hongchen spoke, the old man Yi, who had been paying attention to Yi Hongchen, his complexion suddenly changed. It is not a secret that Yun Kingsu entered a big power in Luoyang City, so the identity of Yi Hongchen was directly exposed. This seemingly extravagant young man turned out to be a disciple of that powerful force. No wonder, when Yi Hongchen entered Ye's house just now, even Yun Xiaolan had a smile. At that time, they only thought that Yi Hongchen was also a genius disciple of the Yun family, but he was highly talented and was appreciated by Yun Xiaolan. "Thank you, brother Yi." Yun Kingsu suddenly changed from a cold face to a smiling face when she heard Yi Hongchen's words, full of tenderness. That's right, with the background of senior brother Yi, Yun Kingsu didn't have to worry about anything in the Yi family. This son, I haven't consulted yet. Yi Yuheng thought of a lot at this moment, and a smile appeared on his face suddenly, trying to get closer to Yi Hongchenjia. Bah, a couple of dogs, I said. Why did you come to divorce suddenly? It turns out that you have a lover. However, before Yi Yuheng finished speaking, Yi Bufan immediately got up from the ground, spat out a little, and continued. No wonder I can't wait. I originally wanted to remarry. Yi Bufan, you have to know that Yun Qingsu has never agreed to marry you. Don't think that you used to have a high level of talent for cultivation. When Yun Qingsu heard this, her face suddenly became angry, and then looked at Yi Hongchen and continued. Brother Yi, when he was 10 years old, he was already in the early innate stage, and at the age of 12, he has entered the middle innate stage. At the age of 15, he was promoted to the later stage of the innate. A few days ago, at the age of 16, he stepped into the peak of the later stage of the innate. Do you think you have a high talent for cultivation? Just like you are now, you're not qualified to lift shoes for Brother Yi. Chapter 0013. It's normal for young people to be arrogant. Yun Qingsu's words not only brought a blow to Yi Bufan, but also brought a blow to the people of the Yi family, such as Yun Xiaolan and Yi Yuheng. All of them looked at Yi Hongchen with horror and unbelievable emotions. In other words, at this moment, this handsome and extraordinary young man turned out to be an unrelenting powerhouse at the pinnacle of innate late stage. This is the heavenly gang realm. Their current highest combat power, Yi Yuheng, is only the cultivation base of the Qi Gang realm in the early congenital stage. When Yi Hongchen heard Yun Qingsu introducing herself like this, the corners of her mouth twitched. Junior sister, you're trying to attract the hatred of the protagonist to the senior. Huh, so what? I can't compare to him now, but 30 years in Hedong, 30 years in Heshi, 30 years, no, 3 years. Yi Bufan's eyes were full of fighting spirit. In 3 years, I will be able to surpass him and defeat him. Let you know that everything you did today was just humiliating yourself. After Yi Bufan finished speaking, he glanced at Yi Hongchen with that warlike look and walked away. As everyone knows, hearing Yi Bufan's words, Yi Hongchen's mouth twitched again. So, according to the original plot, his lifespan for Yi Hongchen is only 3 years? Even shorter? Just you? It won't work for 300 years, but 3 years. Yun Qingsu shouted to Yi Bufan's back after hearing that her senior was so depreciated by Yi Bufan. After Yi Bufan left, Yi Hongchen stood up from his seat. Since the matter is over, then my task is also considered complete. Let's say goodbye. Yi Gengji is serious. I hope Lord Yi Gengji will not remember the villain's past, and don't take Yi Bufan's words to heart. When Yi Yuheng saw Yi Hongchen stand up, he also hurriedly stood up and said with a smile. Although Yi Hongchen heard Yi Yuheng's words, he didn't answer him, and went straight to the door. Behind his hands, he looked like an expert. When a disciple of the Yi family saw this, he muttered, slightly dissatisfied. Cut. Who do you pretend to be? He is the son of the second elder of the Yi family, Yi Zhuoming, and now the first genius of the Yi family. He is practicing Qi in the middle of the day after tomorrow. Although his voice is very low. Who is Yi Hongchen? The dignified master at the peak of the late congenital period naturally heard it very clearly. Turning around slowly, a pair of azure blue eyes suddenly drooped. The frog at the bottom of the well. What are you talking about? Yi Zhuoming was a young man after all. When he saw Yi Hongchen's disdain, he couldn't suppress the arrogance in his heart. My son said that you have an opinion about the frog at the bottom of the well. Yi Hongchen took a step slightly expressionless and said lightly, being named the earthly son by the people of Dongzhou, he can naturally use the sun as himself. Yi Zhuoming's face flushed with anger when he heard Yi Hongchen's words again. In Luoyang City for so long, no one really dared to speak to him like this. This also cultivated his arrogance. But he hadn't said it yet, and was directly held by a girl next to him. I'm sorry, Gengji. My brother is a bit reckless and accidentally ran into you. Yi Yueming's beautiful eyes met Yi Hongchen's eyes, and an apologetic voice sounded. However, what you said, Yi Gengji, was too pretentious. In the end, Yi Wiming turned around and said in a disguised form that it was Yi Hongchen that caused Yi's woman to be like this. Yi Wiming, Zua Mingxiu is rude. Hurry up and apologize to Yi Gengji. Upon seeing Yi Yuhang, a middle-aged man looked panicked and hurriedly shouted, "It's okay, young man, always a little arrogant." Chapter 0014. Give you a chance to shoot. It's okay. Young people, there's always some arrogance. Yi Hongchen smiled indifferently, and before the middle-aged man's complexion changed, the second sentence of Yi Hongchen suddenly appeared. Well, you too. If you can meet me, even if it's the corner of the clothes, this son will apologize to you. And if you can't touch it, even if your cultivation is completely abolished in the middle of the journey, then you won't blame anyone. When Yi Hongchen said that his cultivation was exhausted, the smile on his face was still alive. Brother Yi, is there something wrong with this? Yin Qingsu walked over and whispered beside Yi Hongchen. After all, she came to Ye's house only to break the marriage, and didn't want to cause trouble. Besides, the marriage also dropped. Yi Hongchen's blue eyes glanced at Yin Qingsu slightly, and a chill suddenly rose from under her feet. Okay, I promise you, I want to see if your so-called Tianjiao is true. Yi's woman directly agreed, and pulled Yi Wiming away. Go. Is it possible that you still want to compare here? Go to the martial arts field. When passing by Yi Hongchen, Yi's woman kindly reminded Xia Yi Hongchen. Yi Hongchen smiled indifferently, and did not put his words into his heart. After all, an ant that can be pinched to death at will. Why bother to care too much about it? It's just a pity that he seems to have abolished the stepping stones of the native protagonist Yi Bufan. In this way, is he indirectly helping him? What can I do? It's too impulsive. No, I'm going to stop them. Upon seeing this, the middle-aged man couldn't help but said anxiously and wanted to catch up. But Yi Yuhang grabbed his arm directly. Before he could question, Yi Yuhang reluctantly said, "That's Yi Gengji, with a noble status. What qualifications shall we use to stop him?" Then what to do? You can't just watch Ziming. Wiming is abandoned, right? It's not all you are used to. If Yi Gengji is dissatisfied with my Yi family, then it will not be the problem of the two of them, but the problem of whether our Yi family can exist. Yi family, Wu Geng. On top of an arena, there were 3 people standing, 2 men and 1 woman. Among them, 1 man and 1 woman were wearing blue gowns, which looked a little expensive. But compared to the person in front of them, it looked very simple. The opposite person, dressed in white, had 2 red fringes on his shoulders, and the fabric was extremely gorgeous. Compared with those 2, it was a world of difference. These 3 people are Yi Hongchen and Yi Zwiming Yi Minghua brothers and sisters. Brother Ming, come on, let that shit Tianjiao take a look. Our family's genius. At the bottom of the ring, the news seemed to be spread out by those who were interested, and the younger generation of the Yi family was standing at the moment. I can't see it all. Even though Yi Zwiming is great, he is still a bit close. What's wrong? I think you just turned your arm out. Ming, brother, come on. Yi Hongchen listened to the shouts of the Yi family's children below. His smile narrowed. Looking at Yi Zwiming, and Yi Wiming said, "You guys do it first. This son doesn't need congenital cultivation bases, only the midterm acquired blood level training." Okay, then you be careful. Yi Zwiming was also unceremonious, and his whole body flew directly towards Yi Hongchen. Tiger collapse. Call. Yi Zwiming clenched his hand into a fist. Although he only had the blood training realm, he could actually cause a sonic boom and hit Yi Hongchen. Yi Hongchen didn't move at all. When Yi Zwiming's fist was about to hit him, his toes tilted slightly, and his whole body moved a little distance to the left, unchecked. This punch of Yi Zwiming happened to fly past Yi Hongchen's ear. It fell through. Chapter 0015. I want to abolish who can stop what. Actually, I didn't even hit it. How can this be? Obviously saw him without any action. When Yi Zwiming saw that he had been hit astray, his eyes suddenly shrank, and his heart was full of weirdness. Yi Hongchen's movements were not seen by everyone present, only thinking that Yi Zwiming had missed it. Even he himself thought so. Today, let you see the gap between us. Yi Hongchen looked at Yi Zhuoming, who floated past. A smile suddenly appeared on his face. In the next second, the tiptoes point again, and the whole person is moving quickly to Yi Yueming, who is standing in place. Yi Zhuoming only felt a gust of wind blowing by his side. The next moment, his sister Yi Yueming suddenly fell to the outside of the ring. Boom! The ring was obviously so low, but where Yi Yueming fell, a cobweb crack appeared, making all the Yi family disciples in the field trance. And Yi Hongchen, who was just next to Yi Zhuoming, slowly disappeared and appeared in the place where Yi Yueming was originally. Since you are a woman, you keep on the path of a cultivator, Yi Hongchen said lightly without even looking at Yi Yueming. Yi Yueming was still a little conscious, but after hearing Yi Hongchen's words, she fell into a coma. Who saw what he just did? I didn't see it. The speed is too fast. I am afraid that even the great elder can't keep up with this speed, right? This Yi Gengji is so domineering, and he is gentle with women, too powerful. Suddenly, after a brief period of immersion, the entire Yi family martial arts field boiled, and everyone was discussing the speed of Yi Hongchen just now. And Yi Zhuoming's face was also very ugly, and he rushed to Yi Hongchen again with a vigorous voice. There's a kind of don't hide. Tiger collapse. Call. The wind sounded like a tiger's roar, and Yi Zhuoming punched Yi Hongchen again. He didn't believe that he could miss this time. Don't hide. It's easier to abolish you. Yi Hongchen sneered, actually standing there upright. When Yi Zhuoming punched in front of him, Yi Hongchen moved. It was actually a punch. Dragon fist. Hold head high. The sound of dragon roar suddenly sounded, accompanied by Yi Hongchen's punch. A strong pressure directly suppressed Yi Zhuoming's offensive, and he had no spare energy to fight Yi Hongchen. Not only that, but also directly blocked the direction Yi Zhuoming could run. He couldn't run even if he wanted to run. Two punches collided. Click! The sound of broken bones overwhelmed the shouts of the Yi family disciples. The next moment, Yi Zhuoming's whole body flew backwards, and there was a scream in his mouth. Yi Hongchen moved his feet again, his whole body as light as a swallow, and instantly caught up with Yi Zhuoming, who flew out. Yi Gengji, show mercy. Yi Yuhang, who had already been in the audience, said in unison when the two Yi Yuzes saw this. The next moment, Yi Yuz's early innate cultivation base suddenly broke out. His body moved and flew towards the arena, actually trying to stop Yi Hongchen. It's a pity that Yi Hongchen didn't care about them, and kicked Yi Zhuoming's belly fiercely. Bang! A burst of sound like a balloon exploding sounded from Yi Zhuoming's body, and a mouthful of bright red blood also spurted out of his mouth. Smashed hard on the ring. Boom! In the ring, a cobweb crack appeared directly following his smash, and Yi Hongchen, stepping on Yi Zhuoming's belly, suddenly appeared in everyone's eyes. Minger, Chapter 0016. Do you dare to do it, seeing that his son was stepped on by Yi Hongchen with a bit of blood left beside his mouth? Yi Yuze couldn't help but kicked Yi Hongchen fiercely. Yi Hongchen glanced at him coldly, and the next moment, a chill suddenly rose from Yi Yuze's heart, and even his consciousness became somewhat rational. Yi Hongchen is a disciple of a certain big power, and he is able to cultivate such a genius, and his own background is also extremely huge. He dared to do something to him. Now, I'm afraid I will. Just when Yi Yuze wanted to forcibly end his hand, Yi Hongchen's mouth rose, and a cold voice came from his mouth. Dare to do it to me? It is guilty. The next moment, Yi Hongchen's body suddenly disappeared in front of Yi Yuze's eyes, and came behind him during this breathing time. Martial arts, dragon fist. Above Yi Hongchen's fist, a burst of blue light suddenly lit up. One punch quickly attacked behind Yi Yuze. Click! Hold head high. A sound of broken bones, accompanied by the sound of a dragon chant, suddenly sounded. A terrifying gust of wind suddenly rolled up, and all the Yi family disciples who came to watch were swept away by this gust of wind, and the entire ring suddenly became empty. And a figure smashed heavily on the wall in front of the ring, smashing a hole, and the gravel buried him in all of a sudden. Yi Hongchen, dressed in white, stood upright on the ring with his hands still under his hands, spotlessly clean, just like a person who had just flown out and had nothing to do with him. Yi Yuhang, the elder of the Yi family's elder, narrowed his eyes slightly, clenched his fists, and trembled all over. The Yi family is also a famous big family in Luoyang City. When was he bullied so much in the Yi family? Not to mention that the second elder of his Yi family, his younger brother, Yi Yuza, was beaten. That's right, the person who just flew out was Yi Yuza, who rushed to the ring and wanted to save Yi's woman. At this moment, the spine behind his back had been shattered by Yi Hongchen with a punch, leaving no room. Of course, Yi Hongchen had also stopped. Otherwise, that punch would have to kill him. Feeling Yi Yuhang's movements, Yi Hongchen turned his head slightly, and as Azure left, I looked at him slightly, playing with the taste. Why? Do you still want to kill Ben Xiao? Call. When the words fell, a horrible breath suddenly erupted from Yi Hongchen's body, and everyone who was overwhelmed by the cultivation base of the Tiangang realm in the late congenital stage was a little breathless. Yi Gengji laughed. How could I want to do something to you? I was just angry that my second brother broke the rules of my Yi family and went to the ring to save people without authorization. Hearing Yi Hongchen's words and feeling the pressure from him, Yi Yuhang's tightly shackled body suddenly loosened and reluctantly smiled towards Yi Hongchen. What did he use to fight Yi Hongchen? They are so powerful, and their own cultivation base is monstrous. Even if he is stepped on his face by Yi Hongchen, he still has to smile. Yin Qingsu looked at the handsome and extraordinary young man standing upright on the ring, and only felt that he was shining brightly, attracting her, full of energy. This is the strong man in my heart. Looking at Yi Hongchen, Yin Qingsu couldn't help muttering in her heart. Upon seeing this, Yi Hongchen snorted slightly, then looked around at the people of the Yi family. All the people who were swept by Yi Hongchen's eyes trembled involuntarily, let alone stared at Yi Hongchen. Yi Hongchen moved her toes and immediately came under the ring, in front of a female disciple of the Yi family. Where did Yi Bufan go? Yi Gengji, Yi Bufan, he went to the backyard. Chapter 0017. This is the rhythm of jumping off the cliff. Yi Gengji, Yi Bufan, he seems to have gone to the backyard. The female disciple of the Yi family tremblingly pointed to the south and replied to Yi Hongchen. Upon seeing this, Yi Hongchen tapped his toes lightly on the stone bricks again, and the whole person flew into the sky lightly and disappeared in everyone's eyes. This young Master Yi is really amazing. Even people are born so heroic. The female disciple who had been questioned by Yi Hongchen before, after Yi Hongchen left, secretly said in her heart. Her face turned red. Yin Xiaolan walked to Yi Yuhang's side and said to him with a little embarrassment, "Elder Yi, I am very embarrassed. Yi Gengji is also arrogant. It doesn't matter to my Yin family. I hope Elder Yi will not be angry." N.S. The Yin family is so powerful. How dare I be angry with Yi Yuhang? Yi Yuhang snorted coldly, confessing that the Yi family would settle the injured Yi's woman, Yi Mingwei, and Yi Yuza then flung their sleeves and left. Yi Hongchen didn't care about Yin Xiaolan. Anyway, he was destined to not belong to the same world with these runners. Soon, Yi Hongchen went directly to the backyard mentioned by the female disciple of the Yi family, and at a glance he saw Yi Bufan, who had just left the house and ran towards the back mountain. As expected of a native protagonist, he can detect this, but I don't know what his golden finger is. After Yi Hongchen secretly said in his heart, the innate aura in his body was blessed again, the speed of flight increased again, and soon came to the top of Yi Bufan's head. When Yi Bufan saw Yi Hongchen above his head, his entire face became a little nervous, and he regretted the words he had said to Yi Hongchen in the hall earlier. At this moment, Yi Hongchen was narrow-minded in his eyes, unable to bear his words, and now he came to kill him. Call! A strong wind blew. Yi Bufan's long hair was blown up. Yi Hongchen was already standing in front of him. "Yi Bufan, am I so scary?" Yi Hongchen asked, jokingly looking at Yi Bufan. The thin body, the cultivation of waste materials, the delicate face, and the ordinary eyes have a touch of stubbornness that can never be erased. Well, the protagonist is undoubtedly confirmed. Yi Hongchen. Yi Bufon's expression was extremely ugly. After drinking, he waved his hand towards Yi Hongchen. A burst of yellow mud, accompanied by a burst of dust, suddenly hit Yi Hongchen. Unfortunately, before Yi Hongchen was near, a blue light shield immediately isolated these things. Gang gas. You can only have it when you enter the congenital stage. Of course, the initial stage of the Qi Gang state cannot achieve the release of Gang Qi. Only the Earth Gang state can be released. Huh. Interesting. Although Yi Hongchen blocked the dust, Yi Bufon in front of him had already run away, making Yi Hongchen stunned. Call. The whole person flew up again and followed Yi Bufon within a range of about 10 meters behind Yi Bufon. Because Yi Hongchen was deeply aware of the power of the protagonist's halo, if he pressed Yi Bufon too hard, maybe Yi Bufon would suddenly get some great opportunity. Then the situation suddenly reversed, and it might be possible that Yi Hongchen was chased and beaten by Yi Bufon. Don't doubt, the protagonist's halo is so powerful. If you say that you will crush you. Soon, a cliff suddenly appeared in front of Yi Hongchen's eyes, and Yi Bufon was so immortal that he ran towards the cliff. When he got closer, he stopped on the edge of the cliff, as if he discovered that it was a cliff, and Yi Hongchen cleverly blocked the only passage that came back. Chapter 0018. There's always a crooked neck tree on the edge of the cliff. Seeing Yi Bufon, who was already motionless on the edge of the cliff, felt a sense of powerlessness in Yi Hongchen's heart. Isn't this guy jumping off a cliff, right? Then I practiced a jerk below, then went back to Ye's house to slap his face, joined the big forces, or even joined his palace of absolute dust. And finally, Yi Hongchen, you force me. I, Yi Bufon, swear that if you don't die in this catastrophe, you will die on my hands. Just as Yi Hongchen complained in his heart, Yi Bufon turned around and held a bit of hatred towards Yi Hongchen. After finishing speaking, he didn't wait for Yi Hongchen to say anything. With his back facing the cliff, it was a back jump, which looked very spectacular. In Yi Hongchen's view, this is not a tragic cliff jump at all, but a turning point in life. Don't mess around. I'm not here to kill you. Yi Hongchen moved his feet faster than Yi Bufon's and immediately fell off the cliff. Call. Yi Bufon felt the sound of the wind coming from his ears, saying that he was not afraid of being fake. His eyes were closed, and he secretly vowed in his heart that he would kill Yi Hongchen if he had a chance. As a result, he only felt that his hand was being held by someone, and the body that was falling had also suddenly stopped on the cliff. Yi Hongchen held Yi Bufon with one hand and kept groping with the other hand on the cliff wall. Fortunately, he was lucky and grabbed directly on a crooked neck tree. Crooked neck tree? Well, the protagonist is really hammered. Yi Hongchen, who was holding onto the crooked neck tree with one hand, could not help but cursed secretly. Yi Hongchen. At this time, a puzzled voice came from below Yi Hongchen, and Yi Bufon was looking at him with a puzzled look. It seems that I can't figure out why Yi Hongchen wanted to save him. You know, the height of this cliff is not bottoming. Even if Yi Hongchen is the cultivation base of the late congenital peak, it will definitely only die if he falls. Don't talk, go up to me and stay alive, Yi Hongchen said in a calm voice, pulling with a blank expression on his face. Yi Bufon was immediately thrown onto the crooked neck tree by Yi Hongchen. Before Yi Hongchen could go up, the place he was holding started to break. Click! Yi Hongchen fell off the cliff without any preparation. Feeling the terrifying wind coming from her ears, Yi Hongchen couldn't help sighing in her heart at this moment. As expected, it is the crooked neck tree dedicated to the protagonist. It's so terrifying it's pitted by it. Yi Bufon looked at Yi Hongchen, who was gradually falling, and soon disappeared. Could it be that I was wrong? Yi Hongchen didn't want to kill me? Otherwise, how could he end up? Thinking of this, Yi Bufon's face was uncertain, and he felt confused. How would he know that Yi Hongchen simply didn't want him to fall, triggering his damn protagonist aura? Yi Hongchen didn't know how long he had fallen. At this moment, all his body and mind were invested in the surroundings. He didn't want to die, so he could only follow the path of the original protagonist. Ho-ho! At this time, a gust of wind that was even higher than the falling wind blew Yi Hongchen's hair away, making Yi Hongchen, who was observing, could not help but be overjoyed. If you guess right, it's the wind. Yi Hongchen was secretly surprised. The next moment, after sensing the specific location, most of the innate aura was used to urge the gas mask. Although the gas shield was destroyed by the terrifying wind in less than 3 seconds after it appeared, it was already a good thing for Yi Hongchen. When the gang gas mask had just dissipated, Yi Hongchen had already used martial arts, and his body was as light as a swallow. Chapter 0019. It seems to have come to the land of the protagonist's adventure at this moment. Yi Hongchen had already jumped to the strong wind he had sensed earlier. In the next moment, the strong wind stubbornly pushed Yi Hongchen's whole body away, and Yi Hongchen did not resist. Of course, with the few spiritual powers in his body, he couldn't resist the wind. Bang! Yi Hongchen's head directly hit an extremely hard object, and the strong impact caused Yi Hongchen to faint involuntarily. I don't know how long Yi Hongchen slowly opened his eyes, and a faint blue light lit up in his eyes, and then he turned over in a reflexive manner. After looking around for the next 4 weeks, Yi Hongchen breathed a sigh of relief and murmured, "Fortunately, you have been prepared. Otherwise you must die in this place where the bird does not shit." At this moment, the place deep in Yi Hongchen was a cave, and there was still a moonlight shining in on his head. Apart from opening the openings, there was no other way out. Yi Hongchen sat on the ground, slowly spinning up Druidian Shu, and the aura from above that was irradiated by moonlight suddenly poured into Yi Hongchen's dantian. On Yi Hongchen's body, light blue lines suddenly appeared, which was the effect of the meteor tears. Hoo-hoo-hoo! A breeze suddenly blew in the cave, and the blue light on Yi Hongchen's body became more and more prosperous, and a cyclone suddenly condensed in the cave. All the spiritual energy following this cyclone entered Yi Hongchen's body in an orderly manner. Unfortunately, the aura here is too thin. Even with the blessing of meteor tears, it can only cause a cyclone. After a while, after Yi Hongchen couldn't absorb any aura, he stopped helplessly, and the innate aura in his body had recovered by 30%. 30%, it should be enough in this place. Otherwise, if Buffon comes in, how can he get out alive? Yi Hongchen got up from the ground and walked to the place where the moonlight came in after secretly cheering in his heart. There was a stone table, and the place where the moonlight was shining was only that area. So the place where Yi Hongchen was just now was too dark to imagine. Out of sight, on the stone table, there was only a blood-red spar, as dazzling as a diamond, although only half the size of a fist. What is this? Yi Hongchen picked it up slightly doubtful and placed it in his palm. After slightly tentatively injecting spiritual power, the blood-colored spar in his hand suddenly flashed a red light. The next moment, the cave, which was originally very dark, suddenly became bright, and on the wall, there was the same spar in Yi Hongchen's hand, all shining. Because of the sufficient light, Yi Hongchen could easily see the front, and there was a stone gate. The front of the stone gate was covered with weeds, which seemed to have not been cleaned for a long time. Yi Hongchen's spiritual sense penetrated into the storage ring on the index finger, and the next moment, a blue long sword suddenly appeared in his hand. The storage ring, as the name suggests, is a thing for storing objects. There is an independent space inside, and the specific space depends on the rank. Yi Hongchen's storage ring covers a full area of more than 100 square meters. Among the east continents of the Yuntian continent, everyone who owns such a spatial ring is noble. Yi Hongchen walked towards the stone gate slowly and slashed at random a few times. The weeds blocking the stone gate were immediately chopped off, and a handprint in the center of the door also appeared in Yi Hongchen's eyes. Without thinking about it, Yi Hongchen directly pressed it with one hand, and after a burst of red light lit up from the crack of the door, the Sherman slowly opened. Chapter 0020. Sword drawing is now called. The Sherman opened slowly, and a gust of wind that seemed to have been stuck for hundreds of years suddenly blew out from inside, forcing Yi Hongchen to close his eyes. Not good. Yi Hongchen, who had just closed his eyes, felt an aura that seemed to have reached the early stage of innate Qi Gang stage, and suddenly said inwardly, light as a swallow, with his toes slightly on the ground. Yi Hongchen retreated quickly and slammed into the wall behind him. Without thinking, he squatted quickly and kicked on the wall, and he rushed to the stone gate again. The next moment, a sound of broken stones came, and Yi Hongchen couldn't help opening his eyes, and his blue eyes suddenly appeared. What kind of monster is this? Zombie. Yi Hongchen couldn't help but muttered when he saw the unidentified object that had scratched the wall with a claw. It looks like a person, but it is not a person. Its skin is blue, its mouth has fangs, its eyes are sunken in, and it even emits a smell from all over its body. He was wearing a black robe, but it was a bit tattered, like a beggar. It looks like a zombie. Roar. The one called a zombie for the time being. After seeing that he had missed a claw, he immediately rushed towards Yi Hongchen again. The extremely sharp claws grabbed Yi Hongchen's face. Yi Hongchen once again showed his body as light as a swallow, and his whole body suddenly came to the left side of the zombie, swiped a sword, and pierced its waist all at once. It's a pity that a sound like metal being collided. Yi Hongchen's sword did not penetrate its body. What kind of monster is this? This is the first time that Yi Hongchen has happened since he passed through. Call. The next moment, what caught your eye was a black claw, grabbing at Yi Hongchen's body fiercely. Although Yi Hongchen reacted extremely quickly, a claw mark was also caught on the fierce mouth. Even the clothing symbolizing the core disciple of Juechen Palace was also torn by this claw. Roar! Seeing that Yi Hongchen was able to avoid its claw, the zombies seemed to be even more angry. They used both hands together to kill Yi Hongchen together. Damn, I don't know if the only remaining spiritual power can kill it. Yi Hongchen put the sword into the scabbard, feeling a little uneasy in his heart. Martial arts, sword drawing. In the next moment, the long sword that had just been put into the scabbard was immediately pulled out by Yi Hongchen again. A white sword light wiped on the zombie's body, and Yi Hongchen had already come behind the zombie. Yi Hongchen's sword was put into the scabbard again by him, and he knelt on one knee, gasping for breath. Thump! The zombie with Yi Hongchen's back suddenly fell to the ground, motionless, and seemed to have lost his breath of life. Yi Hongchen actually relied on 30% of his promoted spiritual power to kill the zombies in the Qi Gang realm, and it was not an ordinary Qi Gang realm. After hearing the noise, Yi Hongchen glanced back slightly. There was no wound on the guy's body. He could die. It should be his sword-drawing technique that shattered something in the zombie's body. That's why it is now in a state of no breath of life. After Yi Hongchen slowed down, he walked towards the inside step by step. It was very dark, but the walls were illuminated by blood crystals. Soon, in front of Yi Hongchen, a large circular pit suddenly appeared, with a road built in the center, and the pit was filled with blood, like magma. And at the end of the only road, there was a man in a black robe, sitting still, motionless. Chapter 0021. The domineering Shura demon lord, although he did not move, his surroundings were extremely lifeless, and the blood flowing in the blood pool made the blood in Yi Hongchen's body boil, just like his blood should have been flowing in the blood pool. This is this person Yi Buffan's original chance. Yi Hongchen slowly swallowed a sip of water and couldn't help holding his hand on the hilt of the sword and walked toward that road. Bang! When Yi Hongchen just walked on a road similar to a small bridge, the blood pool suddenly rolled up and the 4 blood pillars suddenly rushed up. Not good. After seeing those blood pillars flying towards him, Yi Hongchen didn't care about that much, and directly used his body to be as light as a swallow, and suddenly came to the front of the Black Robe Man. When Yi Hongchen just arrived in front of the Black Robe Man, the 4 blood pillars disappeared out of thin air, as if they had never appeared before. He is still so overbearing when he is dead. This person must have been a violent lord before his death. Upon seeing this, Yi Hongchen suddenly understood the purpose of the 4 blood pillars. It is nothing more than forcing the people who come here to stop the ink and come directly in front of him. After Yi Hongchen observed the Black Robe Man for a while, he found a few words of blood engraved on the ground. Shura, Demon Lord. Just looking at these 4 big characters, Yi Hongchen felt that his mood was blurred. It seemed that what he saw was not the characters, but a bloody battlefield. A person wearing a black robe, who looked only 28 years old, had 2 blood-colored marks on his face, and the big knife in his hand had been dyed blood-colored, and he couldn't see its original face. In front of him, countless people wearing all kinds of clothes and a lot of weapons were using their own methods, with one enemy. But the black-robed man's complexion remained unchanged, and his eyes still seemed to be painted with a touch of disdain. The next moment, the black-robed man swung a knife, and a burst of bloodlight emerged from the knife, and the huge bloodlight had passed through everyone in front of it. There was no movement. Everyone in front of the black-robed man, at this moment, turned into blood and disappeared here. After the black-robed man had done all this, he seemed to feel Yi Hongchen's peep, turned his head, looked back, and there was a red light in his left eye. Shura, Demon Lord. The 4 characters suddenly appeared in Yi Hongchen's heart. At this moment, Yi Hongchen's consciousness returned, and at this time, he discovered that behind him, he did not know when he had been eroded by cold sweat. Looking at the black-robed man, his eyes were full of horror, and he muttered, "This Shura, Demon Lord, his cultivation is at least above the nascent soul stage, and may even reach the top of his rank." As he said, Yi Hongchen stretched out his hand and just touched the black robe on the black robe man. The black robe man suddenly stood up. This situation shocked Yi Hongchen's heart secretly, and then took a few steps back abruptly. "Since you can come here, it proves that you have a destiny with your prince, and your prince can also teach you Shura, evil Qigong." Yi Hongchen's hand on the hilt of the sword was already emitting a few faint blue lights. That was his innate spiritual power. You can fight at any time. However, the black-robed man didn't directly move his hands. Instead, like a robot, he talked to himself. "But you have to promise me that if you have a chance, you must kill Wang Zuxian. You can promise?" When the black-robed man said this, he suddenly stopped, and a red light seemed to shine in the black robe. A burst of pressure suddenly appeared on Yi Hongchen's body, which made him have an urge to kneel down. "My current identity is the young master of the Absolute Qin Palace. How can I bow down to others?" Yi Hongchen did not kneel down, but try to get rid of this oppressive force. Chapter 0022. Ups and Downs. Fortunately, this oppressive force appeared for a while and then disappeared. Otherwise, Yi Hongchen would not be able to resist it for long at all in Yi Hongchen's current state. "Well, since you have knelt down, then this Shura evil Qigong master will be taught to you. Remember, if you have the opportunity, you must kill Wang Xuxian." The stiff voice of the black-robed man sounded again. After speaking, his entire body in black robe turned into a pool of fly ash, disappearing into Yi Hongchen's eyes. The black-robed man just disappeared. A red light suddenly appeared in the place he had just now. The next moment, suddenly flew to Yi Hongchen. Yi Hongchen subconsciously wanted to hide, but there was no way around, only the robe behind him. He had nowhere to hide. The red light suddenly penetrated into Yi Hongchen's eyebrows, and the 5 characters of Shulua's evil Qigong suddenly appeared in his mind. Shura, using killing as a guide, evil spirits leading to murderous spirits, turned into the foundation of strength. Those who practice this skill must first give up their work and stand after breaking it. Bang, 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 bang. In my mind, a deep voice came, and the blood pool around suddenly broke out. A series of bloody water columns flying towards Yi Hongchen. Yi Hongchen's body also slowly floated up. Bang! The water column hit Yi Hongchen's body, and the Dantian was originally filled with blue spiritual power like the vast ocean, and suddenly shattered at this moment. Puff! Yi Hongchen spouted a mouthful of blood. His eyes were a little muddy. "My cultivation base. Is this going to be forced to abolish it?" What happened next? Just as Yi Hongchen thought, a stream of blood rushed to his body, and the Dantian in his body was shattered a little bit. Hoo-hoo-hoo. When the 8th pillar of blood hit Hong Chen's body overnight, a burst of air flow suddenly spread from his body, which instantly blasted all the blood away. This is the result of Yi Hongchen's dissipating power. Fortunately, just when he dissipated the power, several blue lines suddenly appeared on his body and spread all over his body. The spiritual power at the peak of the innate late stage was driven to Yi Hongchen's limbs and even eyes by this burst of light. That blue light was the effect of meteor tears. Although Yi Hongchen could feel it, he didn't understand what was going on. With blood sacrifice as strength, blood ki as the quantity, impact as forging Shura. Without waiting for Yi Hongchen to think more, the voice in his mind sounded again. Wow! The voice in his mind just fell, and the blood pool that had already calmed down again surged and rushed into Yi Hongchen's body. Shura, evil Qigong. Inadvertently, Yi Hongchen subconsciously turned on the new exercise method he had obtained, Shuluo, evil Qigong. The blood pool was quickly absorbed by Yi Hongchen. The blood pool that was originally bottomless had disappeared at this moment, and Yi Hongchen's cultivation base, from just abandoning his cultivation base, slipped to the early post-acquired physical training state, to the current post-acquired key training state. Boom! Not long after reaching the key training level, a gust of wind suddenly appeared in the entire cave. And beside Yi Hongchen, a blood-red gas mask appeared faintly. In the early stage of innateness, Qi Gang realm, this Shura evil Qigong is so fast. Terror has a huge relationship with this blood pool. Yi Hongchen naturally felt his cultivation base. Looking at the dwindling pool of blood, there was a faint answer in his heart. The more the blue marks on the body grow, the faster Yi Hongchen can absorb the blood pool. I don't know how long it took. The aura on Yi Hongchen's body changed again. The blood-colored mask that had been looming around him was already solidified at this moment. In the middle congenital stage, the Earth Gangland. The Qi Gang grew bigger and bigger until it filled the entire inner hole and suddenly shattered. A stronger force fluctuates. In the late congenital stage, Tiangang realm. Chapter 0023. Promoting Golden Core stage, Yi Hongchen slowly opened his eyes, and a red light flashed from his azure blue eyes. There seems to be a lot of blood in this blood pool, which may allow me to step into the Golden Core stage in one fell swoop. Yi Hongchen randomly scanned the blood pool below his eyes and muttered. In the next second, she closed her eyes again, and Shun Xin began to practice. I don't know how long has passed. There are blood-colored lines on Yi Hongchen's body, which are moving slowly. If you notice the breath of Yi Hongchen, you will find that his cultivation level has reached at this moment the peak of the late congenital period, and it continues to climb. In the night, Hongchen Dantian, the Dantian, who had previously abolished himself, has now recovered its appearance, and the blood-colored spiritual power in his body, like a river, is swimming in it. Suddenly, the center of the scarlet spiritual power suddenly curled up in a whirlpool. The spirit power that was flowing regularly, when this air current appeared, all of a sudden rushed toward the center. After a while, a blood-colored bead, close to the size of a little finger, suddenly formed in the center. When the other blood-colored spiritual powers appeared, they rushed toward the beads as if they had found a gap. And after the blood-colored bead absorbed those blood-colored spiritual powers, the size of the entire bead was slowly growing. When the blood-colored spiritual power was completely absorbed by the blood beads, the turbulence in Yi Hongchen's body also slowly ended. Yi Hongchen's closed eyes opened again, and the body that was originally suspended in the air also slowly fell to the ground. In the early stage of the Golden Core, the core formation realm, although Yi Hongchen didn't know why his so-called golden pill was a blood pill, he didn't care too much as long as he could reach the golden pill stage. The blood pill was about the size of an adult's fist, and the power emanating from it made Yi Hongchen feel a little palpitating. I don't know how strong I am now, Yi Hongchen murmured slightly while not eating his hands. It just so happened that behind Yi Hongchen, on a stone wall, there was a round blood-colored pattern. Yi Hongchen held his hand slightly on the hilt, a huge sword intent, full of killing, and there was a burst of blood on his body. Swordsmanship. The next moment, Yi Hongchen suddenly drew out his long sword, and his whole person suddenly appeared in front of the stone wall. Hum! The sound of a sword rang. Yi Hongchen's body returned to its original position, still facing the stone wall. A blood-colored sword light suddenly appeared on the stone wall at this moment. Boom! In the next second, that wall, along with the stones behind it, turned into a pile of broken stones with fists and fell to the ground. A burst of dazzling sunlight shone in from the gap, causing Yi Hongchen to be in a daze. He seemed to remember that when he woke up, there was still moonlight, but now it is the sun? How long has the time passed? Randomly smashed the broken stones blocking the gap with a palm, and with a slight toe, the whole person suddenly flew towards the gap. Soon, Yi Hongchen left the cave. Outside, there was a forest. Unfortunately, there was a long snake with sharp horns in front of him. The whole body is green, and the huge body is as big as 3 big men. The length of the night Hongchen did not see it, because it hovered above a big tree. At this moment, it was staring at Yi Hongchen with its triangular eyes, and its black tongue was spit out from time to time. Call! In the next moment, the giant snake monster beast rushed towards Yi Hongchen involuntarily, as if guarding his own territory. Very good. I'll use you to practice hand skills first. I don't know how strong it is. Chapter 0024. Killing you like an ant? Very good. Just take you to practice hands first, and see how my blood pill is different from others' gold pill. After watching the giant snake rushing over, Yi Hongchen's heart aroused a sense of war, and the next moment, Shura's evil Qigong was suddenly activated. The blood pills in the body were under the control of Yi Hongchen, and bursts of bloody spiritual power were suddenly inhaled by Yi Hongchen. When the giant snake came to Yi Hongchen, it suddenly opened its big mouth. A pair of sharp teeth were suddenly revealed, and it bit at Yi Hongchen, light as a swallow. When the giant snake was about to bite Yi Hongchen, a faint red light suddenly lit up under Yi Hongchen's feet, and he couldn't see it if he didn't look closely. Boom! Yi Hongchen jumped directly on top of the giant snake. After the giant snake lost Yi Hongchen's target, its huge head hit the ground with a loud noise. This monster is also in the golden core stage. There was a little bit of space under Yi Hongchen's feet, and his originally slumped figure suddenly rose again. And only then did he discover that this giant snake was actually a monster beast of the golden core stage. Although it was only the early stage of the golden core, the core formation realm. Call! At this time, Yi Hongchen suddenly heard a gust of wind whistling from behind him, and turned his head. A green object suddenly flew towards him. This turned out to be the tail of that giant snake. Martial arts, dragon shadow legs. By relying on this tail to cause wind howls, we can know that the strength of this tail is absolutely good. But Yi Hongchen also wanted to try his current combat power, so he directly used the heavenly high-rank martial skill, long shadow leg technique. The next moment, Yi Hongchen's right leg bends suddenly, looking like a tail. Blood-red rays of light in the air gathered on Yi Hongchen's right leg, and a wind stronger than the whistling caused by the tail of a giant snake suddenly appeared. You know, Yi Hongchen is just accumulating energy now. Did not kick out, but just so there can be this degree of wind, one can imagine how powerful this leg is. Go away, Yi Hongchen said coldly after the green tail approached. The next moment, the bent right leg kicked out suddenly. He actually faced the tail that was bigger than Yi Hongchen's whole person. Bang! A burst of blood-red light appeared on the green tail, and then the tail seemed to have received a terrifying impact. It was faster than pumping towards Yi Hongchen, and it bounced to the ground all at once. Boom! The ground that was originally flat was smashed by the tail, and it was smashed out of a long hole and sunken in. The giant snake screamed, and before it slowed down, Yi Hongchen suddenly appeared in front of its huge head. It turned out that at the moment when he had just contacted the giant snake's tail, Yi Hongchen used the tail as a springboard and used his body as light as a swallow again. It's also in the golden core period, but killing you is like trampling on an ant. Yi Hongchen stood with his hands on his back, his face extremely plain. This is not his arrogance, but with the blow just now, he has roughly figured out his combat power. He only used 50% of his power on the leg just now, and the giant snake, if Yi Hongchen guessed right, it should have used 80%. Roar! The giant snake seemed to understand Yi Hongchen's disdain, and regardless of the sharp pain in his tail, he spewed a green poisonous mist toward Yi Hongchen. The body also quickly surrounded the area where Yi Hongchen was standing and shrank suddenly. It actually recruited to tie Yi Hongchen after use and finally swallowed him in one bite. It is a pity that Yi Hongchen is not that stupid. The moment the giant snake opened his mouth, his hand was already on the hilt of the sword hanging from his waist. Chapter 0025. Checking again, a sword intent with killing intent suddenly appeared in front of the giant snake. The next moment, the triangular eyes of the giant snake actually shrank slightly. Call. A white figure passed by in front of it, so fast that the giant snake in the golden core stage couldn't see what it was. Then, in the green poisonous mist, a red sword light flashed. Boom! The green poisonous mist dissipated instantly, and 2 seconds before the poisonous mist dissipated, a red sword light flashed across the neck of the giant snake. Puff! The next moment, the huge head of the green giant snake suddenly separated from its huge and long body and fell to the ground, and the entire body stopped moving. A burst of green blood sprayed from the headless corpse of the giant snake, and a white figure had already appeared on the towering tree where the giant snake had coiled before. And this white figure is naturally Yi Hongchen. When the poisonous mist hit, he directly used his own swordsmanship, the best swordsmanship of the heavenly ranks. That sword not only cut off the poisonous mist, but also cut off the head of the giant snake. The giant snake didn't even have a chance to resist. Although it was also in the Golden Core period, Yi Hongchen felt that he could fight against the people of the later Golden Core period. Unbelievable. This blood pill is too powerful. It took so much spiritual power to extract 10% of the blood pill. Yi Hongchen felt the blood pill that still had strong spiritual power in his dantian and couldn't stand it. Immediately after looking back at the corpse of the green giant snake, and then at the opening of the cave, he suddenly remembered what the black-robed man had said before. Well, since you have knelt down, then the Shura evil Qigong master will teach you. Remember, if you have the opportunity, you must kill Wang Zuxian. I'm sorry, I didn't kneel down, nor did I beg you to teach me this exercise. All of this is your wishful thinking. Yi Hongchen looked at the sun above the sky, slowly opened his hands, and suddenly smiled. So, I'm still a free body. No one can restrict me, Yi Hongchen. Call. The next moment, a burst of blood-colored light suddenly appeared around Yi Hongchen's body, and his body started to float in the air. The white long sword in the scabbard flew out and landed at Yi Hongchen's feet. The Golden Core period is over, and he can finally reach the level of flying with the sword. Although the congenital period can stay in the sky, it also needs a fulcrum. The Jindan period is different, and it can be used to release spiritual power to control an object to achieve the purpose of flying. In the Yuan Ying period, it is truly flying in the sky with its own strength. The flying sword flew up suddenly, and Yi Hongchen flew slowly in the sky, feeling the wind passing through him, and his heart was very generous. During the flight, Yi Hongchen also knew his situation, still under the cliff. It's just that there is such a gorge below, surrounded by cliffs. Ding, congratulations to the host. You can check in again. Yi Hongchen sat on the sword. As if appreciating the scenery, an electronic sound suddenly sounded in the sea of consciousness. He couldn't help but stunned. If he guessed right, the last time he checked in, the system said that the next time he checked in was a week later. But now, if the system says so, isn't a week now? He obviously felt so slow. Check in. Ding, you have successfully clocked in. Congratulations to the host for gaining functional insights. Chapter 0026. One of the insight functions, Ding, successfully clocked in. Congratulations to the host for gaining functional insights. Insight into everything. Yi Hongchen looked at this so simple that it couldn't be introduced briefly and was a little stunned. What is the function of this thing? Ding, next time you check in, 1 week later. The electronic sound in the sea of knowledge can ignore Yi Hongchen's thoughts, and after speaking for himself, he will not speak anymore. Forget it, a week has passed, it's time to go back. Yi Hongchen shook his head slightly and looked at the mountain where he came out earlier. The height was not peaked, and the clouds still blocked the upper side. Even if it was Yi Hongchen's current cultivation base, he still couldn't see through it. Although the scenery here is good, there are also many monsters, and most of them are in the Golden Core period. Yi Hongchen flew over some woods just now, and even sensed a terrifying breath above the Golden Core period. So, staying here is not very safe. Call. Started the Shura Sha Qigong, controlled the flying sword, and started flying upwards. Yi Hongchen noticed something was wrong just after it started. It seemed that the Shura Qi Gong in his body was not very complete. Moreover, Yi Hongchen even felt that he could perfect it. Or try. Do what you want. The flying sword that originally flew up suddenly flew to the place where you killed the green giant snake. Sitting on the big tree, Yi Hongchen began to try to change the practice rules of Shilua Sha Qigong, and the 8 channels of the strange meridians in his body were beating. Call. In the next moment, with Yi Hongchen's changes, the blood core in his body has changed from an extremely irritable state to gentle. Moreover, the blood pill that could not absorb the spiritual energy at this time actually slowly began to absorb the spiritual energy. But it is different from directly absorbing it and using it as before. Instead, it condenses into a mass and then filters out the poor quality aura, leaving only the essence before absorbing it. 2 hours later, Yi Hongchen slowly opened his eyes, and a red light bounced out of his azure blue eyes. A powerful force suddenly burst out of his body. The surrounding trees and grass, under the eruption of this force, all turned to ashes. The next moment, the red light in Yi Hongchen's eyes faded, and the blue light lit up. The place that was originally like a ruin suddenly became full of life. The woods and grasslands destroyed by Yi Hongchen actually grew up slowly at this time, and grew up quickly, and within a short while they were rejuvenated. And in Yi Hongchen's Dantian, above the original blood pill, there is only bloody spiritual power. At this moment, there was another burst of blue spiritual power. Live together, the power in the pill is actually greater than the previous blood pill. Yi Hongchen estimated that it was at least twice as powerful. This, I actually succeeded in modifying it. It's incredible. Yi Hongchen slowly stood up, and the previously modified place, as if it had been engraved in his mind, could not be forgotten. Looking at the red and blue spiritual power that was beating in his hand, Yi Hongchen couldn't help but guess, could it be the insight function I obtained earlier? This is too powerful. So, can my swordsmanship, draw swordsmanship, boxing dragon fist, legs and dragon shadow, and body as light as a swallow be perfected again? When he thought of this, Yi Hongchen couldn't help but get excited. You know, these 4 martial arts are all of his own creation, and they're all top grades. If you can really perfect 1 or 2, then you can step into the ranks of the emperor. You know, Juechen Palace is such a huge force. There are only 2 emperor rank martial arts. If you want to do it, Yi Hongchen held the hilt in his hand and closed his eyes. Chapter 0027. The protagonist is on the edge of the cliff. Again, the moment Yi Hongchen closed his eyes, a feeling of being in control suddenly came to his mind. The focus of sword drawing is speed, and sword intent makes up for its strength. But if I can turn sword intent into speed, it will undoubtedly be more deadly. Yi Hongchen closed his eyes and opened his eyes again. The next moment, a tyrannical sword intent appeared. Yi Hongchen had disappeared for a second. Rumble. When he reappeared, Yi Gengji was already 100 meters away. The place he surpassed, whether it was a tree or a grassland, was divided into 2 parts with the original route at this time. Sure enough, the speed is reduced. Although the strength is less, I can still make up for it with spiritual power. Yi Hongchen looked at the messy woods behind him, with surprises on his face, and his sword-drawing skills, under this transformation, barely entered the lower grade of the emperor. 3 hours later, Yi Gengji was beating back and forth in the woods as he wanted, and his body was still emitting blue light, making his speed a little faster. In 3 hours, he actually deduced the dragon fist, the dragon shadow of the legs, and the body is light as a swallow to the emperor rank, especially as light as a swallow. he was perfected to the middle grade of the emperor. If it was previously said that it was created based on swallows flying, now it is based on the wind direction generated by flying. Today's body is as light as a swallow, and there is no need to use as much spiritual power as before. It only needs a little, and it can be used continuously, and the speed is faster than before. Time flies so fast. In a blink of an eye, it's night again. Yi Hongchen leaped with him, and after crossing the woods, he looked at the crescent moon in the sky, a little helpless. Standing on his toes in the void, Yi Hongchen seemed to be stepping on the acceleration belt the next moment, and the speed of his whole person suddenly increased, flying towards the sky. Hoo-hoo-hoo! Feeling the sound of the wind whistling around him, Yi Hongchen was undoubtedly very generous. This time he clocked in, he was very satisfied, and even the meteor tier was even better. Yi Hongchen was a little looking forward to the next time he clocked in. Earlier, Yi Hongchen and Yi Bufan fell on the edge of the cliff. At this moment, a teenager wearing a white gown was standing there, and there were 6 teenagers on the opposite side, who were also dressed like that teenager. Yi Zwoming, Yi Bufan, have never tried to provoke you. Why are you here to kill me? I am the son of the patriarch. Standing on the edge of the cliff, it was Yi Bufan, and the 6 teenagers in front of him were headed by Yi Zwoming, who was abandoned by Yi Hongchen. When Yi Zwoming heard what Yi Bufan said, his face looked a little immature, and he suddenly sneered. Yi Bufan, you are worthy of being the son of the Yi family patriarch? Are you worthy? That's Yi Bufan. You don't take APS to take photos of yourself. How can you become the son of the Yi family patriarch? Not to mention the Yi family patriarch. I really don't know that people like him still have the face to stay in Ye's house for so long. If I were him, I would have killed him with a stone. After Yi Zwoming spoke, the 5 Yi family disciples around him immediately agreed, and they all looked at Yi Bufan's eyes with disdain. Yi Zwoming, even if I am not resisting, my father is the head of the Yi family. This is a fact, and I am also the only young head of the Yi family. Yi Bufan's face was pale. It can be seen that he should have been beaten before, and he was still seriously injured. Hearing this, Yi Zwoming moved his feet and ran towards Yi Bufan, hitting his stomach with a fist. So you are dead, and I am justified. Chapter 0028. The protagonist who likes to jump off the cliff bang. Even if Yi Bufan was completely wary of Yi Zwoming, the difference in strength was still too great, and he was directly spit out by a punch. Coincidentally, he just vomited on Yi Zwoming's face, making his complexion suddenly indescribable. Bah, Yi Zwoming, you want it too, right? Haha, you laughed at me. Yi Bufan held his stomach and stepped back, looking at Yi Zwoming mockingly. My uncle is getting older, and he will soon make my dad the new head of the family. When that happens, I will naturally be a righteous young master. Yi Zwoming snorted coldly, approaching Yi Bufan step by step, and immediately caused Yi Bufan to retreat to the end of the cliff. No refunds. Now, let me see how you run. A few days ago, Yi Hongchen gave me the pain, and today I will use you to discourage. Yi Zwoming finally showed a smile on his face. 6 days ago, he was beaten by Yi Hongchen and lay in bed for 4 or 5 days before he recovered. But he didn't know that his dantian had been abolished, because the dantian was not used in the early days of the day after tomorrow, so it was normal for Yi Zwoming not to know it. Otherwise, he definitely couldn't laugh at this moment. Yi Bufan glanced at the cliff behind him. Yi Zwoming, who was already in front of him, gritted his teeth slightly. Yi Zwoming and everyone in the Yi family, Yi Bufan, have all written down on you. If you don't die this time, you must pay the price of blood. Yi Bufan yelled at Yi Zwoming and the Yi family disciples behind him a little unwillingly. The next moment, the whole person jumped back suddenly, keeping lying down, jumped off the cliff again. His move made Yi Zwoming and the 5 Yi family disciples stunned. Apparently, he didn't expect Yi Bufan to have such courage. Brother Ming, what shall we do now? The great elder will punish us if he knows it. Brother Ming, have we forced Yi Bufan to death? Brother Ming. The 5 disciples of the Yi family suddenly ran to Yi Zwoming with a panicked look, like ants being fried in a pot. After all, Yi Zwoming was just an underage boy, but his mood was pretty good. After a brief period of panic, he immediately stabilized. It's okay. Today we didn't know more than the second person about what we had with Yi Bufan. As long as we don't say it, who can know? While comforting them, Yi Zuoming looked towards a cliff and said in his heart, Yi Bufan, Yi Bufan, this is your own death. No wonder I. The other side, Yi Hongchen stepped into the void and was flying up at a speed that was hard to see with the naked eye. Suddenly, a white object suddenly appeared above Yi Hongchen, which made him feel puzzled. I didn't want to observe too much, but after entering the golden core stage, my eyesight has become very good, and I can see clearly what the white object is at a glance. That turned out to be a person, and he happened to know that person. It turned out to be the gorilla Yi Bufan. Well, why does this protagonist like to jump off the cliff so much? Do you want to die? Yi Hongchen really didn't know whether to laugh or cry at this moment. The feeling of crying without tears. Helplessly, in order to prevent Yi Bufan from triggering another halo of the protagonist, Yi Hongchen's figure suddenly flew towards Yi Bufan. At the next moment, Yi Hongchen went straight to Yi Bufan's side, and when he was about to fall from his side, he suddenly pinched Yi Bufan's neck with an extremely precise hand. As if carrying a chicken, he flew towards the cliff with Yi Bufan. After Yi Bufan felt his body fly upward, he couldn't help but open his eyes with some doubts. Chapter 0029. The fearful Yi Zuoming just opened his eyes. What caught the eye was a handsome face with sword brows and stars, and the blue eyes were as bright as stars. It's him. He didn't even die. After Yi Bufan saw Yi Hongchen, his heart was ups and downs, full of incredible. A few days ago, he witnessed the fall of a generation of Tianjiao with his own eyes. But now, this Tianjiao hasn't died yet. On the contrary, he still looks very energetic and even rescued him who jumped off the cliff again. Isn't he trying to kill me? Otherwise, the opportunity to die twice is useless, and he can even say that he just killed me twice. Looking at Yi Hongchen, Yi Bufan had some doubts about his previous thoughts in his heart. Yi Hongchen didn't know what Yi Bufan was thinking at the moment, and soon came to the cliff. Just after landing, he threw Yi Bufan to the ground. I said, Yi Bufan, you like jumping off the cliff so much. If I'm not here next time, you won't be so lucky. Standing in front of Yi Bufan, Yi Hongchen reminded the protagonist Yi Yuekui. At this moment, Yi Zuoming and others had already returned to Ye's house, so they were not seen on the cliff. After speaking, Yi Hongchen didn't care whether Yi Bufan heard it or not, and a light blue light appeared on his body when he moved his feet and immediately rushed into the sky. Soon it disappeared in Yi Bufan's eyes. Is the strength of one of the four great arrogances really so terrifying? Even if it is falling off a cliff, it can come up safe and sound. Yi Bufan's eyes were a little lost. Looking at the cliff in front of him, the unconvinced feeling in his heart slowly dissipated at this moment. Can I really defeat such a character within 3 years? I can. Yi Bufan's mood suddenly collapsed at this moment. But he didn't notice that around his neck, a string of silver necklace was emitting a white light at this moment. Yi Hongchen flew above the sky and flew towards the Yun family. On the way, he also saw Yi Zuoming bring 5 teenagers back to Yi family. Involuntarily, a thought suddenly appeared in his mind. The reason why Yi Bufan jumped off the cliff was because of Yi Zuoming. It can even be said that it was they who forced Yi Bufan to jump off the cliff. Suddenly, Yi Hongchen, flying in the sky, suddenly flew down towards the ground. Call! Suddenly, Yi Hongchen appeared in front of Yi Zuoming and the others, blocking their way. The feet still haven't touched the ground, keeping a distance of 1 centimeter from the ground. It looks as if they're standing on the ground. Yi Zuoming and the others were startled when they saw someone suddenly appeared in front of them. After seeing Yi Hongchen's face clearly, his heart became even more flustered. Yi Gengji, I don't know what's the matter with your blocking our way. Yi Zuoming was frightened when he saw Yi Hongchen, and then said incomparably flattering, it is undeniable that sometimes violence is the best way to manage a person easily. Yi Zuoming was already scared by Yi Hongchen, and the arrogance in his heart disappeared without a trace. Even if he hated Yi Hongchen, he could only secretly bear hatred in his heart. I recognize you. Yi Hongchen didn't feel anything when seeing Yi Zwuming's attitude. In Juechen Palace, Yi Zwuming had seen too many people like him. As long as he was scared, he would naturally treat him respectfully. Call. When the words were over, Yi Hongchen's body immediately moved in front of Yi Zwuming, causing Yi Zwuming to retreat in shock and fell to the ground. Yi Gengji, what's the matter? Just say it. Don't hit me, don't kill me. Chapter 0030. Killing with a knife? Yi Gengji, what's the matter? Just say it. Don't hit me, don't kill me. Seeing Yi Zwuming sitting on the ground, looking like don't hurt me, Yi Hongchen couldn't help laughing. It's nothing big. I just want you to do something for me. Yi Hongchen made a slight move, and a gentle spiritual force immediately lifted Yi Zwuming. Yi Gengji, as long as I can do it, I will definitely help you do it. After hearing that Yi Hongchen was not here to take his life, Yi Zwuming secretly sighed in relief. Yi Hongchen glanced at the 5 people behind Yi Zwuming, and in the next moment, he took a random step. A burst of air suddenly hit the 5 people. The 5 young disciples of the Yi family flew out and fell to the ground. After doing all this, Yi Hongchen squatted down with great satisfaction, looked at Yi Zwuming in front of him, flipped his hand slightly, and several things suddenly appeared in his palm. It contains Qi Ju pill, colorless and tasteless, blended into the medicine. Let Yi Bufan drink it, and he will immediately die. Yi Hongchen stretched out his other hand, picked up a small white bottle in his hand, and placed it on the ground. This is a heart demon talisman, which can cause the person to be posted to produce a heart demon. The same Give Yi Bufan, of course. This is after you fail to use the medicine. Yi Hongchen once again took a piece of black talisman paper from his hand and placed it on the ground, and the last item in his hand was a blood pill. This is a violent pill. Although it is only a low grade, it can make the people who serve him burst out of full potential. This must be used last. Yi Hongchen put the blood pill into Yi Zwuming's hand, still smiling, as if talking to an old friend. Seeing Yi Hongchen's appearance, Yi Zwuming couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. Yi Hongchen was able to kill someone with a smile. Although it looks almost a year older than him, the city mansion is like an old fox. At this moment, the fear of Yi Hongchen in Yi Zwuming's heart had risen to the extreme, and even the hatred in his heart had completely dissipated at this time. Does he dare to hate people like Yi Hongchen? He might not know that he was violently killed in that street someday. Yi Gengji, these are for Yi Bufan's use? Yi Zwuming swallowed hard, cold sweat on his forehead. No, this blood pill is for you. Come on, kill Yi Bufan sooner. I'm optimistic about you. Yi Hongchen shook his head slightly, smiling more deeply. Yi Bufan, he is dead. I saw him fall off a bottomless cliff. After seeing Yi Hongchen standing up, Yi Zwuming hesitated and finally said something. Yi Hongchen said without turning his head, he is not dead, and he should go back to Ye's house to find you soon. Get ready soon. After speaking, Yi Hongchen slowly flew up. Just when he was about to leave, he seemed to think of something and continued. Yes, if necessary, you can use 3 indiscriminate methods, such as killing and coercing the relationship with him. Good person, call. When the words fell, a gust of wind was like a warning, struck towards Yi Zwuming. All the rocks around Yi Zwuming were completely broken under this gust of wind. After Yi Zwuming recovered, Yi Hongchen had disappeared. Yi Bufan is not dead yet. It doesn't matter. Yi Gengji want you to die. How long can you live? Yi Hongchen didn't know if he could use Yi Zwuming's hand to kill Yi Bufan. At this moment, he has returned to Luoyang City, Yin family. Senior brother Yi, where have you been these few days? Chapter 0031. You can go through the back door. Senior brother Yi, where have you been these past few days? Not long after Yi Hongchen entered Yun's house, a woman in a blue long gown came over. What about your sister? Yi Hongchen glanced, slightly helpless. This woman was obviously not Yin Qingsu, but Yin Qingshui. Looking at the towering place, Yi Hongchen recognized it all at once. When Yin Qingshui saw that Yi Hongchen recognized her immediately, he curled his lips and said boringly, My sister thought you were back, so I left the other day. Isn't my mount still here? Didn't she notice? Yi Hongchen was suddenly confused when he heard this. You know, his Mount Ihu is a third-level monster, full of Jindan in the early stage. Although for his reasons, Yin Qingsu had also sat once, but it did not mean that Yin Qingsu was qualified to let Ihu take her back to the palace. Where do I know my sister's IQ? She just left anyway. Yin Qingshui shook his head slightly, looking helpless. Yi Hongchen nodded slightly. His spiritual sense came out, and he immediately found the location of Ihu, and then walked towards the place where Ihu was. After all, he has completed the task of retiring his marriage, and staying in this small place will affect his cultivation. Just when Yi Hongchen moved, Yin Qingshui opened his hands and stopped in front of him, and said in a nonchalant manner, "Ah, hey brother Yi, are you going back now? Don't you go back and eat the elixir here?" Yi Hongchen said helplessly, "Then can you take me back with me? I want to join you too." Yin Qingshui's expression was a little nervous, and her bright eyes opened wide. Yi Hongchen suddenly wrinkled his sword eyebrows when he heard the words, stretched out his hand, and suddenly grasped Yin Qingshui's wrist. The next moment, a blue light suddenly appeared on Yi Hongchen's body, and his strong spiritual power penetrated Yin Qingshui's body. Yin Qingshui only felt that her body suddenly became extremely heavy, like a gene, which made it difficult for her to raise her hand. After a long time, Yi Hongchen slowly put away his spiritual power, grabbed Yin Qingshui's hand, and suddenly pulled it. Yin Qingshui's cultivation is only a blood training realm in the middle of the acquired phase. How can he resist Yi Hongchen's pull? Suddenly, Yi Hongchen was pulled over and plunged into his arms. Yi Hongchen looked at Yin Qingshui up close, and a smile suddenly appeared on his face. "Your bones have not reached the ground level, and you can't enter the Juechen Palace. The roots and bones are something that every cultivator must possess. From high to low, they are sage, emperor, heaven, earth, mysterious, and yellow. And Yi Hongchen's roots are only the roots of the heavenly water spirit. If you practice water-based techniques, your cultivation will surely go a long way." But his predecessor didn't like the water attribute gaining technique, so he directly chose that technique, and now he has replaced it with Shura Evil Qigong. Then what should I do? Yin Qingshui looked at the infinitely magnified face in front of him. His heartbeat could not help speeding up, and there was a blush on his face. Yi Hongchen slowly held Yin Qingshui's profile face with his other hand and said with a smirk, "Of course, you can open a back door for you with a beautifying trick to me." When the words fell, Yi Hongchen kissed Yin Qingshui's lips without waiting for Yin Qingshui's reaction. Yin Qingshui's beautiful eyes opened wide, and he wanted to resist, but he didn't know how to resist. His breathing was tight, and he couldn't breathe. When Yin Qingshui was about to suffocate, Yi Hongchen slowly let go of her. The next moment, when she moved her feet, she disappeared in front of Yin Qingshui's eyes. "It tastes good. What kind of dessert did you have?" "My son, you have to think about it. I'll go back to the house first." Chapter 0032. Fateful Peach Blossom. As soon as Yin Qingshui opened his eyes, Yi Hongchen was gone, but his seductive voice still echoed in her ears. Involuntarily, his face was hot, and even the roots of his ears were red. "Bah, what a big brother. It's clearly a pervert. Am I really going? But he is really good. He looks good. He has a high cultivation base, and his status is even greater than that of the city lord. But I promise this way. Will that be regarded as a freak? But he just kissed, so he should be responsible. Yes, he just kissed, and I haven't married yet. If it's past, how can I marry in the future? Must be responsible." As Yin Qingshui said, he walked towards the place where Yi Hongchen's residence was previously arranged. The moonlight shone on her body, and it was cold at night, but Yin Qingshui did not feel cold. Instead, her body was full of heat. At this moment, Yi Hongchen had already returned to the room, sitting on the bed faintly, closing his eyes, and the spiritual consciousness slowly spreading out. When the spiritual consciousness just spread to the courtyard, he felt the shadow of Yin Qingshui, and Yi Hongchen took back the spiritual consciousness. "This little girl, it seems too good to cheat, right?" Yi Hongchen smiled slightly on her face. He doesn't like to force others on this kind of thing, but he won't resist it. In layman's terms, it is that those who come are not resisting, but there are some contradictions. Squeak. At this moment, the door of the room was pushed open, and Yi Hongchun waved his hand casually. The candles in the room were immediately extinguished, and the whole person left the bed, as if they were fused with the darkness. As soon as Yun Qingshui entered the room became dark, and a wave of fear could not help but strike. Just about to turn around and leave. However, the door of the room she opened suddenly closed. The next moment, her hands were directly wrapped around her waist, making her tremble. Standing behind Yun Qingshui, Yi Hongchun could not help but whisper, "Don't be afraid. I won't eat you again." Yi Hongchun? Yun Qingshui suddenly felt relieved when he heard Yi Hongchun's voice. Because the room was so dark just now, she couldn't see Yi Hongchun, only a black shadow. "How about you? Do you want to go through the back door?" Yi Hongchun slowly loosened the belt in Yun Qingshui's waist with both hands, and a soft voice came. Even in the darkness, Yun Qingshui still felt the hotness on his face, and the hotness that hadn't come inside the house no longer knew when it would disappear. Think about it. A small voice like a mosquito came from her mouth. If it weren't for Yi Hongchun's cultivation base, she wouldn't be able to hear her voice. Yi Hongchun had already untied Yun Qingshui's belt at this time, and when he moved his feet, he immediately led her to Chuangbian and immediately pressed Yun Qingshui under his body. "Then just take it step by step. Rest assured, I will be very gentle." Yi Hongchun's eyes in the darkness suddenly emitted a looming blue light. Yun Qingshui couldn't see Yi Hongchun's expression, but because of the darkness of the light, he gradually became bold. Following Yi Hongchun's hand, he directly hooked Yi Hongchun's neck and kissed his mouth. And Yi Hongchun, without the slightest scruples, directly catered to Yun Qingshui. For a while, the room was in a mess, and even a gasp sounded from time to time. Also because of Yi Hongchun's identity, Yin Xiaolan didn't arrange for someone here. Otherwise, Yi Hongchun would be fine, but Yun Qingshui would be difficult. Chapter 0033. The first collection, Vertical Sun. The morning sun shone down, in the room where Yi Hongchun was shining brightly. Yi Hongchun was also awakened by the light. After feeling the numbness on his left hand, he turned his head slightly and looked to the left. A lovely man was lying on his left arm, his hands wrapped around his neck, and Yi Hongchun's legs were clamped tightly, as if hanging on Yi Hongchun's body. Needless to say, this person is naturally Yun Qingshui, who went crazy with Yi Hongchun until midnight last night. He casually stretched out his hand and pushed aside the hair covering Yun Qingshui's face. Yi Hongchun lay there, quietly looking at her. Yun Qingshui seemed to have just been itchy by Yi Hongchun. Some of her long eyelashes moved, and the next second she opened her eyes. The aim was not Yi Hongchun's handsome face, but those eyes that looked like stars. Unconsciously, Yun Qingshui only felt that his heart was about to jump out. "Get up when you wake up. I think you should be hungry." Seeing Yun Qingshui's stunned expression, Yi Hongchun couldn't help but chuckle and gently tapped her forehead. "Brother Yi, you won't lie to me, will you?" After Yun Qingshui was pulled back to his senses by Yi Hongchun's voice, he couldn't help but feel anxious. After all, even if he and her sister hadn't said Yi Hongchun's identity, he didn't even need to think about it. He would definitely be very noble. If nothing happened to Yi Hongchun, then she would have nothing to do. How could this make her uneasy? Seeing the appearance of Yun Qingshui, Yi Hongchun couldn't help but pretendingly said, "What are you talking about?" Hearing this, Yun Qingshui's small face suddenly became extremely pale, and his whole body was trembling. Sure enough, is this a shame? At this moment, Yun Qingshui even thought of suicide. After all, his body was given to Yi Hongchun, but before Yun Qingshui could think more, Yi Hongchun turned over and pressed Yun Qingshui underneath and said softly, "What about you?" Yi Hongchun is not good at anything. The only advantage is trustworthiness. After speaking, Yi Hongchun immediately kissed Yun Qingshui's red lips heavily. But the big rock in Yun Qingshui's heart suddenly seemed to be loose, and he could not help subconsciously hammering Yi Hongchun's back a few times. When I reacted, there was a panic of fear in my heart, and the scene of seeing Yi Hongchen for the first time appeared in my mind. Okay, don't be angry. It won't look good if you are angry. However, the imaginary Hongchen's rage did not appear, but Yi Hongchen's gentle voice made her heart sweet. After facing Yi Hongchen's azure blue eyes, Yin Qingshui's heart seemed to melt, because there was only tenderness in that eyes like water. 15 minutes later, Yi Hongchen had already put on his white clothes, stood outside the room looking at the flowers blooming in front of him with interest, and said to the room, "Hurry up. Why have you been busy for so long?" "I know, Brother Yi." After Yun Qingshui lowered the red blood arrow on the quilt, he hurriedly put it in the storage ring and walked out quickly like a guilty conscience. Yi Hongchen glanced at her with some doubts and said helplessly, "Let's go, it's going to be noon." After speaking, Yi Hongchen turned around and left, and Yun Qingshui had to limping to follow. Yi Gengji, 2nd Mississippi. Along the way, everyone from the Yun family saluted Yi Hongchen and Yun Qingshui, and Yi Hongchen soon came to the courtyard where Yihu was. When Yihu saw Yi Hongchen, he suddenly wailed in some surprises, serving around it, and everyone who was feeding was shocked by its shouts. Chapter 0034, Attacked Halfway. "Okay, Yihu, we should go now. Don't scare others." Yi Hongchen couldn't help laughing when he saw Yihu, who was extremely irritable, and said slowly. When Yi Hongchen spoke, Yihu finally stopped, which also secretly relieved the other Yun family members. Yi Hongchen saw Yun Qingshui stumbled over and stretched out his hand. "Let's go." Upon seeing this, Yun Qingshui put his hand in Yi Hongchen's hand slightly hesitantly. Yi Hongchen squeezed her hand directly, and when she moved her feet, a light blue light appeared on her body, and she flew Yun Qingshui onto Yihu's back. "Excuse me, please tell Patriarch Yun Qingshui, the second lady of the Yun family. I have accepted it in Juechen Palace." After Yi Hongchen spoke to the Yun family below, Yihu immediately waved its pair of white wings and rose into the sky. Even if Yihu had deliberately controlled its power, the wind generated by it still knocked the people below against the wall. As soon as he flew into the sky, Yun Qingshui suddenly stretched out his hand from behind Yi Hongchen, hugged him tightly, and couldn't help feeling a little excited as he watched the smaller and smaller scenery underneath. She is finally leaving this Luoyang city. She had been thinking about it since she saw her sister leave. Call. Yihu's huge body flew high above Luoyang City, causing Luoyang City's people to look sideways. "Oh my god, this is the monster beast from nearly a week ago. It actually left at this moment. You don't understand, right? This monster beast is a nobleman's mount. He came here with the eldest lady of a Yun family." Hearing the confusion and envy of the people around, a person in the know suddenly became pretentious. "Dare to ask the Xiongtai why this expert came to our Luoyang city. It's easy to talk. It said that I went to the Yi family to help the young lady of the Yun family to divorce." At that time, Yi Bufon's face was green with anger. Haha. What happened then? It seems that the second elder Ye's son couldn't understand the noble man and invited him to fight. And then, what else? Elder Ye's son was beaten to lie down for 5 or 6 days. Yi family. Yi Bufon was practicing boxing in his yard and was taken aback when he saw a monster beast flying above the sky. When will I have such a monster? It is undeniable that Yi Bufon is a little envious now, but soon he withdrew his mind again and continued to practice his fists. Nearly 20 minutes later, Yihu had already flown into a desert. There was no living person in the desert, including the monster. And Yi Hongchen, who was standing on Yihu's back, suddenly opened his eyes, and the blue eyes were full of coldness. Murderous. As Yi Hongchen, who had already practiced Shura's evil Qigong, he could naturally sense the murderous aura easily. Yun Qingshui, you will sit on Yihu later, and Yihu will protect you. Yi Hongchen reminded Yun Qingshui. The next moment, the toes touched Yihu's back lightly, and a light blue wave suddenly appeared under his feet. Yi Hongchen walked slowly above the void, and Yihu, at this time, has already gone. Can't let go of any creatures, even monsters. Ihu had just left Yi Hongchen's range of nearly 30 meters, and Yi Hongchen heard such a sentence in his ears. In the next moment, 16 desert sand pillars rose. A group of people in black flew out of it. Chapter 0035. One sword seals the throat. These 16 people were all lying in ambush under the desert. And now, when Ihu was about to go away, they finally couldn't help it. What? Someone dared to ambush senior brother Yi. Yun King Shui was shocked when he saw the man in black who suddenly appeared. At this time, the two men in black who were closest to Yun King Shui flew directly towards Ihu, and one of them also shouted, "Little girl, you should care about yourself first." The two black-clothed cultivation bases actually possessed the late, innate heavenly gang realm. Two white key gangs enveloped them. When Ihu saw the two, there was a kind of humanized mockery in his eyes that were slightly larger. After the two men in black came in front of them, a pair of white wings suddenly waved. Its huge body suddenly disappeared from the sight of the two men in black. Before the two men in black could find out the location of Ihu had already come to their side. What? This monster is actually in the golden core stage. At this moment, they discovered that Ihu's cultivation base turned out to be the golden core stage. Although there is only the pill formation realm, it is not something that can be resisted. Unfortunately, they found out too late. Ihu's sharp claws. The next moment, they tore the two in half. Two blood drops falling from the sky. The other side, Yi Hongchen was suspended in the air, and 14 men in black stood around, each holding a rapier. If this young man guessed right, you should be the people in Juechen Palace? Yi Hongchen looked at the 14 men in black with the slightest change in expression. Still very easy. Hearing what he said, at least half of the 14 men in black had their eyes suddenly burst, and all of this was in sight. Moreover, it should be a member of the MO family. To be more specific, maybe MO Ran will send you here to intercept and kill this young man. Yi Hongchen was not in a hurry and continued to analyze his thoughts. And as the people in black came out of Yi Hongchen's word after word, all the reactions were caught in his eyes. What nonsense with him! Let's go together. A man in black really didn't want to hear Yi Hongchen continue speaking and shouted, "Immediately take the lead to kill Xiang Yi Hongchen." And his cultivation base turned out to be the pill formation stage of the golden core stage. The other people in black looked at each other and drew out their swords one after another. Without saying a word, they all headed towards Yi Hongchen. One is in the pill-holding state, two are in the pill-forming state, two are in the late congenital stage, and 9 are in the late congenital stage. After they used their spiritual power, Yi Hongchen immediately sensed their cultivation base, and his face suddenly condensed, and he didn't feel relaxed. Really, such a big hand. Is this to ensure foolproof? Yi Hongchen shook his head again, and when their attack was about to arrive, he stomped in the air. Call! In the next moment, the 9 people in black who were born in the late congenital period only felt a breeze blowing around them. In the next second, a sore sensation appeared in the throat, and the 9 men in black in the late congenital period suddenly fell from the sky. Yi Hongchen, dressed in white, had already appeared behind the only 5 people in black, still holding his hands on the hilt of the sword. It seemed that he had not drawn his sword just now. Powerful, too strong. The eyes of the 5 men in black couldn't help but shrink, and there was a touch of timidity in their hearts. Even the man in black who was holding the pill realm in the middle of the golden core did not see Yi Hongchen's figure, orbit. I only felt that when he was about to stab Yi Hongchen, he suddenly disappeared and reappeared, and his 9 people were killed in Huangquan. Chapter 0036. 2 combat kills. There's also a pill-holding stage, 2 pill-forming stage, and 1 innate late peak. Yi Hongchen turned around slowly, with a smile on his handsome face. Don't be proud of being there. Fallen leaf, sword technique. The man in black in the pill-holding realm does not believe in evil anymore. How can a person at the peak of the late congenital stage be so strong? In the next moment, the sore body of the black-clothed man in the pill-holding realm was covered with green leaves, and its speed had doubled, and a sword stabbed Yi Hongchen fiercely. When he was about to stab Yi Hongchen, Yi Hongchen suddenly bent back, and the sword suddenly passed through Yi Hongchen's eyes. Yi Hongchen, you are in a game, haha. Fall. When a man in black saw this, his eyes were suddenly full of joy. The next moment, the green leaves that were originally covered on the sword's body were flying down towards Yi Hongchen's body like the tip of a sword at this moment. Oh, really? Yi Hongchen said as he watched the green leaves fly down. In the next second, the light blue light on the body disappeared directly, and the body that had been suspended in the air before suddenly landed downward. After a certain distance, a light blue light appeared again on Yi Hongchen's body. Body skills, body as light as a swallow. Call. The man in black in the pill-holding realm just felt that a gust of wind suddenly appeared behind him. Big brother, be careful. The remaining 4 people in black all shouted, and the next moment, they all rushed to the person in black. Because Yi Hongchen, dressed in white, came to the back of the black-clothed man in the pill-holding realm like a ghost. Feeling the rapid approach of the 4 breaths behind him, the corner of Yi Hongchen's mouth raised. It's late. The right fist suddenly lifted and hit the man in black on the back. The Shura's evil Qigong in the body is running fast, and the original blue and half-red golden pill has all turned into blood red at this moment. A bright red spiritual power was condensed on Yi Hongchen's right hand, and a bloody smell had already passed into the nose of the black-clothed man in the pill-holding realm. Martial arts, Dragon Fist. With this punch, Yi Hongchen hit the man in black on the back. An incomparable blood-colored spiritual power completely destroyed all the organs in the black-clothed man in an instant. Even his golden core the size of 2 thumbs was directly hit to pieces by this bloody spiritual power. Hold head high. A sound of dragon chants pierced through the body of the man in black. At this moment, the offensive of the 4 men in black had arrived, and Yi Hongchen's smile became more and more obvious. Light as a swallow. Call. Yi Hongchen was like a loach, sliding directly upwards. Not good. After seeing Yi Hongchen leave suddenly, the 4 men in black cursed secretly in their hearts. In the next moment, the 4 men's offensive directly fell on the black-clothed man in the Baodan realm who was suspected of their leader. For rapiers directly penetrated the body of the man in black, and the body of the man in black who had already died was destroyed again. Before they could draw out their swords, the whole body of the man in black suddenly exploded. The 4 men in black were directly blown away by the impact of this blast. A blood snake like a python, with 2 sharp horns on its head, suddenly appeared after the man in black exploded. As if he had been prepared, he rushed towards a man in black who was at the peak of his innate late stage and bit him. The man in black who was rushed by the impact could not stabilize his figure at all and was bitten off by the blood snake without any precautions. And the blood snake turned into a pool of blood water at this time, spilling from the air. Chapter 0037. Yi Hongchen's strength leap. All this happened, but it took less than 30 seconds. But above the desert sky, there were only 2 people in black in the pill formation realm, and Yi Hongchen in white clothes. I'm sorry, the 16 of you seem to be the only 2 of you. Yi Hongchen directly took the long sword hanging from his waist and looked at the 2 men in black with a sad expression. The black clothes of the 2 men in black were different from the spotless Yi Hongchen, stained with blood, and the rapiers in their hands disappeared. After hearing Yi Hongchen's words, the 2 finally lost the courage to fight with Yi Hongchen, and after looking at each other, they ran in the same direction with great understanding. Since they couldn't beat Hongchen overnight, and they ran separately, it is impossible to be killed by Yi Hongchen, a person who was born at the peak of the late stage, right? It's a pity that they are thinking too wrong, so wrong. The mistake was wrong. They thought that Yi Hongchen was still Yi Hongchen who came out of Juechen Palace, the cultivation base, the peak of the late congenital stage. You know, Yi Hongchen at this time is the golden core formation stage. When the 2 men in black just looked at each other, Yi Hongchen's hand was already on the hilt. A monstrous sword intent, like a murderous sword, stands above Yi Hongchen. The 2 black-clothed men in the pill formation realm had just left separately, and Yi Hongchen had already seen it. Run? Did you run away? The next moment, Yi Hongchun suddenly pulled the long sword out of its scabbard. Swordsmanship. A blood-colored sword glow appeared above the desert like a shooting star across the dark sky. Puff! The two men in black who separated and flew away were in different parts of their bodies, and the two heads, which looked like footballs, had disappeared. But Yi Hongchun had already come between the two, still holding the sword in one hand and the hilt in the other. It seemed that the death of the two had nothing to do with him. 14 people were killed, including 1 in the pill-holding state and 2 in the pill-forming state, and only about 50% of the spiritual power in the body was used. Yi Hongchun stood on the void, feeling the spiritual power of the blood pill in his body, and couldn't help but be secretly frightened. Although he personally modified Shura's evil Qigong, he couldn't touch the secrets, couldn't see through it, and could only use it. Today's battle also gave Yi Hongchun a general idea of his strength, better than Yuan Dan, comparable to Ningying in Yuaning period. Of course, this is only Yi Hongchun's own estimation, and I don't know if it can be compared to the Ningying realm. Brother Yi, are you okay? At this moment, Yun Qingshui's voice came from Yi Hongchun's ears. Yun Qingshui stood on Yihu's back and was flying towards him. Yi Hongchun shook his head slightly, moving his feet, and suddenly came to Yihu's back. Go on. There was no word all the way, and for nearly half an hour, a towering mountain suddenly appeared in Yi Hongchun's eyes. Take out a blue token from the storage ring. There is nothing special in the token, just a core word. There are 3 big characters Yi Hongchun on the back, which is a symbol of his being the core disciple of Juechen Palace. After Yi Hongchun took out the token, a white ray of light suddenly appeared in front of Yihu. Yihu was already familiar with it and flew indirectly. Yi Hongchun put away the token, looked at Yun Qingshui, who was looking around with some curiosity, and reminded, although I didn't see anything just now, there is actually a palace guarding formation there. You need a unique Juechen Palace token to open and enter. Chapter 0038. The distribution of the Absolute Dust Palace. Hearing Yi Hongchun's voice, Yun Qingshu just retracted his gaze and asked curiously, is it impossible to enter without a token? Without a token, once the formation is triggered, the law enforcement hall in that palace will know it immediately. Yi Hongchun took advantage of the fact that he hadn't even reached the Juechen Palace and directly became a qualified explainer. Through Yi Hongchun's explanation, Yun Qingshui also immediately understood the general distribution in Juechen Palace. Juechen Palace is one of the 4 great powers in this place where they are located. Tianxian Pavilion, Juechen Palace, Luosha Gate, Qinyuezong are called 1 pavilion, 2 palaces, 3 doors, and 4 sects on the mainland. The Juechen Palace is divided into 6 types. The main palace, the Elder's Hall, the Deacon Hall, the Core Hall, the Inner Door, and the Outer Door. The main palace is the territory of the palace owner. Without the summons of the palace owner, no one can enter without permission. The Hall of the Elders is the residence of the elders, divided into the Inner Door Elders and the Outer Door Elders. The Deacon's Hall directly belongs to the palace lord, responsible for cleaning up and the rules of the palace. The Core Hall is a place where the core disciples are located. Although it is called a hall, it is actually similar to a large area of land. The Inner Door is where the disciples of the Inner Door are, and the Outer Door is where the Outer Door is. The outer disciple wore a yellow robe with a black pattern on his shoulders. The inner disciple wore a purple dress with a white line on his shoulders. The core disciple is dressed in white, with a red pattern on his shoulders. The elder of the outer gate requires a black dress with a blue pattern on his shoulders. The elder of the inner door prescribed a blue dress. Among them, the 5 elders of the inner gate are in charge of almost half of the resources of the Palace of Great Destruction. Speaking of, your sister is still a personal disciple of one of the 5 elders of the inner sect. Although it is only the inner sect now, it is only a matter of time before it becomes a core disciple. Speaking of the 5 elders, Yi Hongchun directly told Yun Qingshui the identity of Yun Qingsu. However, Yun Qingshui's attention now was on Yi Hongchun's body, and he looked at Xia Yi Hongchun's clothes. Dressed in white, but there is a red line on his shoulders, the core disciple. Yi, brother Yi, "So you are the core disciple of Juechen Palace?" Yun Qingshui's face was full of surprise, an incredulous tone. Yi Hongchen just smiled when he heard the words, but did not speak. More than a core disciple, he is also the only heir of Palace Master Yi Tianjue of Juechen Palace. Of course, Yi Hongchen didn't say this, and there is no need anyway. Everyone starts from the outer palace disciples when they enter the palace, so you come on. After seeing a pile of buildings on a mountainside in front of him, Yi Hongchen said with his back to Yun Qingshui. Hearing Yi Hongchen's words, Yun Qingshui couldn't help but feel a sense of loss in her heart, feeling empty in her heart. He couldn't help but hug Yi Hongchen, and his whole body was attached to Yi Hongchen's body. So, in the future, I will have very few opportunities to meet with Brother Yi, or even almost gone. Yi Hongchen heard the words, did not answer, and when he came to a mountain engraved with the outer door, he naturally broke free from Yun Qingshui's hands. I will arrange for you to enter the outer door, but how you behave in the door is up to you. Yi Hongchen said faintly. Yes, Qingshui will definitely live up to Brother Ye's expectations. Yun Qingshui smiled slightly and said seriously. They were cultivating in the outer door. After seeing Yihu flying in, all of the outer disciples stopped their busy work. As soon as Yihu landed, everyone knelt on one knee and said in unison, "Meet the young palace master." Chapter 0039. Can't be expected, meet the young palace master. Just as Yun Qingshui wanted to get off Yihu's back, a loud voice suddenly rang from below, which shocked her involuntarily. I just felt that I was about to be fainted by the loud sound, because even those who were shouting are outer disciples. They are also outer disciples of Juechen Palace. At the lowest level, they're the realm of key training, which is the later stage of the day after tomorrow. Because of the obvious rules, the requirement of the outer disciple is from 14 to 20 years old. If he fails to reach the congenital at the age of 20, he will be sent back. So these outer disciples, although all of them look very immature, even smaller than the younger generation in Luoyang City, but they are stronger than the patriarchs of the three major families. How can Yun Qingshui, who is only practicing the blood realm cultivation in the middle of the day after tomorrow, be able to bear it? Fortunately, Yi Hongchen put his spiritual strength into Yun Qingshui's body in time, and there was no serious problem. Senior brothers and sisters, you don't need to be polite, Yi Hongchen said to the outer disciples who were naturally downward. Hearing Yi Hongchen's words, all of them hurriedly got up. Their eyes were full of light, and they all looked at Yi Hongchen admiringly. At only 16 years old, he is already a master at the pinnacle of innate late stage. It is also one of the four great arrogances of their Dongzhou, known as the earthly sun. This person has become an idol for them in the entire outer and inner door. Of course, in addition to some people who saw Yi Hongchen's wrong eyes, and even those people, even if they saw Yi Hongchen's wrong eyes, it was admiration from the bottom of my heart. Yi Hongchen brought Yun Qingshui to a middle-aged man and said slowly, "Elder Feng, this man will be the outer disciple at Juechen Palace from now on, because the newcomer still doesn't understand some of the rules. I'm bothering you." Elder Feng laughed when he heard Yi Hongchen's and waved his hand nonchalantly. It's okay. Since the young palace master brought it, I'll take care of it." Yi Hongchen nodded slightly and a little bit under his feet, and the whole person fell on Yihu's back as if flying up. Yihu directly waved his white wings and immediately flew into the sky, flying towards the top of the mountain. Although it is a mountain, the area is not generally large, but very large, like a city in Yi Hongchen's previous life. Of course, the higher the place, the smaller it is. Respectfully send the young palace master. Seeing Yi Hongchen's departure, everyone shouted again with great interest. Yun Qingshui couldn't help but feel a sense of inferiority in his heart as he watched Yi Hongchen disappearing gradually. He turned out to be the young palace master of Juechen Palace, and she is just the second lady in a small place. Knowing the identity of Yi Hongchen, Yun Qingshui only felt that a high mountain appeared between her and Yi Hongchen, and Yi Hongchen was standing on the high mountain. She and King Shui could only look up at the foot of the mountain. After Elder Feng waited for Yi Hongchen to leave, he looked at Yun King Shui in a friendly manner and said, "Let's go. Follow me to get the dress of the outer disciple first." Yi Hongchen, who had already gone to the core hall, naturally didn't know Yun King Shui's thoughts, nor did he want to know. His heart is like this. For Yun King Shui, he just treats a woman who is clear in the evening, without any special thoughts. After returning to the core hall, Yi Hongchen directly let Ihu fly to the Dust Palace by himself. Dust Palace, his own independent place in Yi Hongchen. In the entire Juechen Palace, there are only 3 independent places. One is the main palace of the cheap old man, the other is his Dust Palace, and the other is the Dyed Palace of Mahist Ink Dyeing. Chapter 0040. The new hatred and the old hatred are liquidated together. Juechen Palace. Don't look at it as a whole. In fact, there are 2 forces in the palace vying for power. The 2 powers are the Yi family and the Mo family. The Yi family is stronger. Yi Tianju Xiu is the mid-primary infant training stage, and Yi Hongchen's grandfather is the early stage of merging. The Mo family followed. Mo Juin, the patriarch of the Mo family, was in the Ningying state in the early Yuanying stage, and his ink-stained grandfather was the infant state in the late Yuanying stage. Even the position of the palace lord of Juechen Palace was born from the Yi family and the Mo family. If there is no more talented person in this generation, then the 2 candidates who compete for the position of the palace owner are the first genius of the Yi family, Yi Hongchen. The Mahist's first genius, Moran. There was originally one person. That was Yi Lingyun of Yi family and cousin of Yi Hongchen. It is a pity that Yi Hongchen used a thunderous method to snatch it over when Yi Lingyun and Mo Ran were fighting for the position of young palace master. Yi Lingyun and Mo Ran were both in the late congenital stage before, and Yi Hongchen was the peak of the late congenital stage. Now, Yi Hongchen has come to the early stage of the golden core, not the same golden core stage. "You come here." Yi Hongchen slightly hooked his index finger after seeing a core disciple coming in front of him. When the core disciple originally saw Yi Hongchen, his complexion had already turned green. After hearing Yi Hongchen's words and his actions, he completely turned into pig liver color. This core disciple was surprisingly the disciple that Yi Hongchen left Juechen Palace to teach Ahu the day before going to Luoyang City. Although this core disciple wanted to ignore Yi Hongchen, after all, he was afraid of being beaten by Ahu and cringed towards Yi Hongchen. Yi Hongchen, what can I do if you ask me to come over?" Lin Ming walked up to Yi Hongchen with his eyes facing the sky and asked suspiciously. Yi Hongchen heard this. Her azure blue eyes condensed immediately, and she said in an extremely cold tone, "What do you call me?" "Yi know, big brother Yi." Lin Ming repeated it again, a little aggrieved. Yi Hongchen nodded in satisfaction, not talking nonsense. "Is Mo Ran in the palace?" "Mo Ran is not in the Dai Palace today. It seems that he has gone to the arena. I heard that his people were beaten by Master Ye's people, so," Lin Ming said to the end, while observing Yi Hongchen's face. As long as Yi Hongchen's expression was not right, he would immediately run away. So, he went to support his little brother? Very well. The old and new hatreds are settled together today. Although Lin Ming didn't finish speaking, after Yi Hongchen got the insight function, what cannot be seen? When the words fell, Yi Hongchen turned around and stepped out, and there was no shadow in an instant. With his hand, Lin Ming was taken aback and became somewhat silent. His body is as light as a swallow, and he has improved again. It's really scary. Shaking his head slightly, Lin Ming suddenly put away his thoughts about joining in the fun. But seeing that Yi Hongchen had just gained speed, he couldn't help but itch and rush towards the ring field. Arena, as the name suggests, it is the place where the competition and the duel practice, where there are disciples who are not pleasing to the eye, will meet there for a showdown. Arena. The ring arena is very large, enough to accommodate thousands of people. Even there are dozens of arenas. But now there are dozens of arenas, and only one is full of people. Hundreds of disciples wearing the costumes of core disciples all gathered around to watch. On the arena, A handsome young man was fisted by a sturdy man. He slammed into the formation on the ring, and then fell on the ring, with blood flowing out of his head. Like a blood man. Chapter 0041. Ink-stained, mind the blood on the head of the delicate young man was rescued, making him look like a blood man. Damn it. How come the strength of the ink marks has suddenly increased so much? The handsome boy looked at the boy who looked like a big man on the opposite side, and his heart was full of doubts. His name is Bai Cai, and he is one of Yi Hongchen's loyal fans. Yesterday, he was clearly able to completely suppress the ink on the opposite side, but today he felt that the strength of the ink was so powerful that it was in the late congenital period. Bai Cai, if it doesn't work, you can kneel down for me, call Dad 3 times, and then you can roll off the ring. The ink marks are not in a hurry, and Chao Bairan said. The words were full of disdain, as if Bai Cai's battle with him had become a stain on him. Ink, don't be arrogant. Bai Cai held the dagger in his hand, and the next moment, 3 Bai Cai suddenly appeared on the ring. Let's kill the ink. Upon seeing the ink marks, he snorted slightly and looked at Bai Cai coldly. Bai Cai, today I will let you know that all skills are vulnerable to absolute strength. When the words fell, the ink marks suddenly raised his fist, and a cloud of golden spiritual power appeared above the fist, which looked like a flame. No, it's a fake fire. Although it's several times different from the spirit fire, it's powerful. Upon seeing this, a core disciple under the ring suddenly said with some worry, Pseudo-fire is different from real spirit fire, and spirit fire is a special existence in the Yuntian continent, and even the holy value spirit weapons can be burned. Humans, monsters, and beasts are not a problem. If Bai Cai is hit, will he suffer from a dark illness? A core female disciple was also slightly worried. Cut, isn't it just a fake fire? If it hits it, and it won't die anyway. The core disciple, standing next to a somewhat feminine teenager, suddenly said indifferently, Gu Jingyun, what you said is light. Why didn't you get burnt by the fake fire? Upon hearing this, the female disciple immediately spoke. Oh, my strength. The false fire can't burn me naturally, do you have to say? Gu Jingyun let out a cold voice. The feminine young man stretched out his hand and placed it on Gu Jingyun's shoulders and said in a deep voice, Okay, talk better. Take a look at the battle. After all, my fake fire is not for the ink. Yes, Brother Mo. After Gu Jingyun heard the feminine man speaking, he said respectfully, and their words were not concealed in the slightest, and all the other disciples listened to it. Damn it, you. The female disciple couldn't be more angry and wanted to say something, but another core disciple next to her stopped her directly, shook his head, and said, Senior Brother Yi is not here. It will be difficult to live in the core hall if Mo Ran is involved. Their words also revealed the status of a feminine-looking teenager, and he was the first genius of the Mo family, Mo Ran. When there was an abnormal movement under the ring, the battle between Bai Cai and Mo Ran started above the ring. The 3 Bai Cai killed the ink together, and when they approached the 5-meter range of the ink, they all stopped and swung a sword out of the air. Call! 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 3 white sword auras flying towards the ink. As far as your level of sword aura, what else do you want? Upon seeing the ink marks, he grinned. Martial arts, Baron Bull. In the next moment, the ink marks the whole person is like a bull coming from wild, rushing towards Bai Cai. The 3-sword ki that flew over were completely dispelled by his punch. There was a burst of golden light on his body, and he came directly in front of Bai Cai. Chapter 0042. One punch killed the 3 Bai Cais. One of Bai Cais the ink came to happened to be himself. Not good. Bai Cai wanted to escape, but Moji had already attacked. How could he escape? The golden false fire in his hand had already appeared on Bai Cai's body at some point, making him unable to move. As long as he moved, he would be burned into—
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.